For the next couple of hours, we're going to be talking about sort of some visioning things that we need to be discussing. We discussed Main Street and Midland Square revitalization. Stan Summers was going to come tonight. He called and said that he's had some surgery today and was unable to make it. So we'll have him maybe the next time we have a meeting and have him come and introduce themselves. I think most of us probably know Stan quite well. He's going to be our economic development consultant. We're going to have a presentation on special project, some strategic planning with Bill also. So with that, why don't we go ahead and kind of get started? This is, like I said, this is going to be kind of a visioning, planning workshop for the next little while, and I'm going to turn the time over to you with Stan not being here. I'm going to turn the time over to you, Bill, and let you kind of get things going, and then we'll have a good discussion as we go.
So did we want to start with discussion of the Main Street or?
Yeah. Why don't we just start with that?
All right. Well, in our
And if
last,
you'd like me to,
yeah, why don't you, yeah.
okay. So, as you well are aware, we've been working on Main Street and Midland Square for the better part of the last year. And we've had several meetings, we've had town halls, we've had, we've had the steering committee meetings, we had the survey. There's a lot of things that have sort of gone on to gain citizen input and get ideas from the community, what direction we needed to go and that kind of thing. As everybody knows, we applied for and received a Rural Communities Opportunity Grant for $405,720. That was last year. That was before last year. And we were given a certain time frame to complete that project. With all of the input and all of the things that went on with the town square and town hall meetings, and so forth, the visioning, the survey, the steering committee and everything else, and all of the input that we went through last year, we're requesting an extension of that grant. And I've got I don't have it quite completed yet, but it's pretty much close. It's pretty much there. We have the request for extension, and I'll send that to each one of you so that you can review it here in the next little bit. But it just kind of walks through what happened during the year, over the course of the year, and what our goals are with looking into the future and that kind of thing. So I'll send that to you, and we can go from there. Now, I had a chance to meet with, or not meet with it, but we were on a Zoom call today with Sherry Stevens, who is sort of our representative for the ARCOG grant people and GOEO. And, her indication was, let's go, we need to be able to sort of get this project done in the next little while. If we can get this completed and show that we've got this done and moved in, completed, then we can apply for further funding from GOEO up to $600,000. And I think that would be very, very beneficial toward applying to Main Street. The funding we can apply for funding for infrastructure, for business, manufacturing, kind of bringing manufacturing in, and anything with economic development, we can apply for that. So my recommendation is we move ahead. What we did was we sort of pivoted the grant just a little bit to, rather than the pavilion, what we did was we set it up as sort of phase one and phase two. And rather than maybe the pavilion to start with, we do the flat work and we get all of that done. And then we move forward with phase two, which would include the pavilion and that kind of thing, maybe next year or sometime down in the future. What we would do, instead of doing the pavilion, we would purchase street lights for Main Street, and then more or less just we'll store those away until we get Main Street, the infrastructure in and sidewalks and do all the other stuff we're going to do with Main Street, whatever the council decides we need to do. But we'll put the lights away in storage and have those on hand. So that's the pivot. And anyway, that's kind of where we're at with, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I just wanted to say that after our last meeting, some of the staff and the Main Street Committee were a little discouraged by the direction that the city council went with it. Even though ultimately you voted to approve the concept plan and to move forward with a tentative budget for it and things like that. That's what the mayor has just got done discussing. There was some concern that the Main Street Committee and the Midland Square Committee were looking at things that the city council ultimately didn't want. And that left them frustrated because they felt like for the last several months, we've been meeting and trying to come up with a good design to present to the city council, and then to have that not received well was discouraging. So we've been trying to.
Which aspects, can I ask?
Well, there were a number of different aspects. Mainly that the concern was we wanted to look at the whole thing, Main Street and Midland Square, and it felt like the council was more interested in focusing on Main Street and not doing anything with Midland Square at all. And again, that felt discouraging for many of the commission members, the Main Street Committee members. And yeah, so that the mayor and I have been working with them, and we've met with some of you kind of offline to discuss options and the direction that we'd like to see it go. But in the meeting, they just came away discouraged. And
I was discouraged the opposite, because we've been going through the same thing for a year.
yeah,
The first plan that we had when I first come in was close to the same plan that we got last time.
yeah, and ultimately,
And then they shot themselves in the foot by somebody saying, no, I didn't really agree to it. So what was we supposed to do? And then it just didn't feel like it was cohesive to me. I mean, it was, I don't know. That's hard. It's just been hit your head against the wall.
we've been discussing this, and I say we. I got here in June, and so I wasn't part of the conversation that's been going on for 30 years about Midland Square and about Main Street revitalization, obviously. But it's a conversation that is really frustrating when you think about it in those historical terms. And we got to a point where we felt like with the Main Street Committee, we were really ready to take off with the thing and really just put it out on the street and start pushing dirt and get some things done. Moving the trees and taking out broken sidewalk and really making the whole downtown area a place of revitalization. We're looking to, and the mayor has highlighted this several times, the result of the open house was that people want some energy downtown. People want amenities, and they want a place of vitality and a place where people can come and hang out. Yeah,
So that's what we want too.
yeah.
I don't know how it got misinterpreted, but the idea that was trying to be conveyed up here and what I tried to put together in a proposal, which obviously was not very good because people didn't understand, was that we need to find out what the costs are of everything so that we can prioritize what we can afford. So we didn't say no to anything. We were saying we need more numbers so that we can make a decent decision. And the priorities need to be set in, because if we want to do lights first, then if the money is there, we would do the park. That's what was said right here at that meeting. I don't know how that got construed into, we weren't interested in doing anything.
And honestly, I don't know either. It's one of those classic,
Yeah.
just communication breakdown things. And
I think we were looking at as two different things.
it's probably true. And
I mean, that's the way it started, right?
Main Street and the park is two different things.
Right.
Well, and I think that's where, for me, coming in fresh, I have very little background on what did happen, right? So all I've seen is what is today, and they are kind of lumped together into one, and I'm confused as to what is sequentially like being asked for first, right? Even today, to have the two kind of blended together, I actually kind of like that, because it's actionably things that we can do today. The grant's going to expire. We do need to do something, right? And it almost just feels to me like the lack of the longer term vision is what's holding us back from being able to take the next step.
Sure.
Right? And so knowing that they're all lumped together into one and they're not separate projects, for me, helps me understand prioritization. And I think there was ambiguity on what the grant could and couldn't fund. And for me, that was the reservation.
And that is something that the mayor and I have been working on offline in the interim. He talked about the pivot from
Yeah.
just focusing on one area or the other to kind of a blended project that's going to be done in phases.
So I thought they were gonna go find out if the grant money could go
Okay, so,
the other, but
We-
I haven't heard anything about that.
well, that's the part that's part of that pivot. So they are open to, us reapplying, modifying the grant, pivoting the grant to include, some things on Main Street. We're just sort of at the beginning stages of Main Street on Midland Square. We've got the budget, and it's, we've got that all laid out now, so we do know what it's going to cost. We do know where the funding is going to come from.
It'd be really good for us to see these numbers.
Oh,
I haven't
you know,
seen them.
It's like today, that we've got
Okay.
this, and so I'll
I mean,
send this
that's
out.
where we need to start. Then we can start having some educated discussions on which
Yeah.
way we want to.
I don't know if we can put that, could we put this up somehow?
It's the one that unless you've readjusted them bids.
And talking and talking and talking and no numbers.
It's a little
How can you
different.
make a decision
Jeff
without
went through
knowing
and
what the cost is?
reformatted it all, so it is a little easier to understand from what,
So where is it, Lyle?
on my
We all
computer.
want everything. I want everything. But what can I afford,
But we've got it broken down, and the mayor and I have been working on with the Chamber of Commerce and with the ARCOG grant approving committee to both create a pivot that brings the Main Street and other infrastructure all into one roof, one project.
Cool.
With different phases, right? So the numbers that the mayor has put together involve most of the flat work, the landscaping, the restrooms, and the purchase of streetlights along Main Street. The numbers are from our city engineer, and therefore they're padded. And so we'll probably come in, hopefully right in line with what the numbers are, if not a little under.
Cynthia, I just sent
So-
that to you. And it's just at the end of, it's the.
I mean, if there's enough money there to do it,
Well,
let's go for it.
that's the thing, is that based on the massaging that we've done, it looks like we've got the money right now to go ahead and get started with the thing. And that would involve the work at Midland Square without the pavilion and without the entrance arch. with Tremont, you know what I'm talking about there. And then with the purchase of the streetlights now.
And the restroom, correct?
And the restroom. The restroom would be included in
Well, the
phase one.
pavilion, just a canopy thing later.
Correct. And the mayor and I are hoping to reach out to Nucor and Volcraft and some of these other businesses to see if they wouldn't help participate in the design and construction of, and hopefully have even maybe a donation of some of the materials or whatever towards the creation of this thing. And
Initially, Volcraft and Nucor were ready to move forward with the archway. So I think that it would just be a matter of, you know, rekindling that request, kind of a thing. So I think we have until next week to get this application in. So, you know, what we don't want to do in this meeting we had today with Sherry, and what we don't want to do is we don't want to, you know, in my mind at least, I don't think we want to let this one slip. But more importantly, what we want to do is we want to be able to prepare ourselves for the next grant from our ARCOG grant, which will be ready to be opened up and for us to be able to submit late summer. So August-ish, we would, and so what we'd want, and those grants can be for up to $600,000. And what we want to do is we want to be able to, spend down this grant and then be ready to move for the next grant, which could be for infrastructure on Main Street, anything to do with economic development on Main Street. Or, you know, for us, it could be a lot of other reasons too. We could look at some other things, but get this grant done, get this money spent, and then apply again so that we can, and like I said, up to $600,000 that we can apply for, which would be the next level.
Phase, yeah.
The next thing we can do for Main Street.
There's a couple of reasons why the timing of the thing is working the way it is, not just the grant, but the redesign and the pavements and the sidewalks and things that we want to do on Main Street involve UDOT. And of course, that just slows everything down. So it makes sense to push that into a phase two and delay that just a little bit. So we've got the money that we need to use and spend now. Let's use it and spend it where we can in Midland Square and get the streetlights ready to roll out so that when it comes time and UDOT says, yes, this looks good, and we have met with them, and generally speaking, the concepts that we've put forward are acceptable to UDOT, with the exception of inverted crown, which was not well received.
Are we gonna, I
So
mean,
pardon me.
I'm good, I was just gonna get in the weeds on that. So,
Let's just go through this, and then we can talk further about Main Street. But so this is the grant, or this is the budget that Chris, this is the engineer's estimate that Chris sent out to us here just a little while ago. And then what we did was we had a meeting with the chamber here a while back, and also with others, and in doing that, we talked about the pivot, and so we looked at some of the things we could do. In Chris's budget was the scroll down just a little bit, down a little further. In Chris's budget, there was the stage or the pavilion, $185,000, and we thought, well, okay, let's take that and let's take let's put that into phase two, and then instead of the $185,000, we'd save a little bit of money, but we'd go ahead with the lights instead, and then kind of put those aside for right now until we're ready to install them. The pavers, That was one of the requests from a lot of the people in the community. We didn't want to forget those people who had initially, invested into Midland Square back in the day. So what we could do there is, rather than pavers, which wear out over time, what we can do is make a larger plaque, one of those brass plaques, and then we can just put all the names up on that. That would save a fair amount of money there. So other than the Main Street lights on Phase 1 and the change with some of this other stuff, the arches and some of this other on the later phases, we have the 405,000 plus the 175 in the budget right now. And so you scroll up just a little bit and a little more. I don't know about the contingency and engineering, that might be a little bit, but if we look at just the subtotal, we do have the funding for all of that as it stands right now, so.
For all of the park,
For Phase 1, for Phase 1.
It'd really be good if we could get our hands on these numbers.
We'll send them to you right now. I'll send them to you right now.
So this is pretty much everything in the park and lights, nothing else, right?
Correct.
Phase 1 is, yeah.
Except-
It's all the flat work.
Exception to the arch.
So is Phase 1 up there
Yeah.
as part of this? I don't see Phase 1 and
Well,
Phase
it's,
2.
in Jeff's budget, he didn't say Phase 1 at the top, but the main items 1 through 18 are what I would call Phase 1, and then
New core on the side.
these,
or whatever.
this,
I don't mind that.
and the lighter, that would be what I would call Phase
We're
2.
gonna put everybody else's name in, you can put their name.
But
Might as well.
we're looking at Jeff's budget that he put together for us. He didn't. I put on Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the top of those, so.
Yeah, in the construction world, they're called bid alternates, so if you have a set budget, you see what you wanna prioritize, and then you kind of pick what other amenities, if you want to spend more, say we get more grant money, say we choose to spend more. The bid alternates are what finishes you go pick out that you may want to just spend more on if you increase the budget, but.
Or if the bids come in significantly under what we're anticipating, then we can plug some of these other things back into the project.
Just for context, how did we come to this strategy? How was this crafted?
and like I said,
What's
this
kind of the
is-
logic? Is this part of some of the things you've suggested to? And, I mean, how have you guys, like,
this
why did we
was-
choose lights, for example?
This was
or-
Chris's budget, with, the whole thing was Chris's budget to start with. And then like I said, we had the meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's sort of who we used in this particular situation to kind of, because Monica is,
Prioritize.
she sits on that board. So she was giving us some insight on how to do this pivot. And her feeling was that the lights were probably something that the committee could grasp and they would accept.
Okay.
So we're going on Monica's input and advice, where she sits on that committee and was.
Were
giving
there
us
any
some-
other similar like it that aren't going to go in a storage shed for a minute?
What?
You know what I mean? Like, is there any other items like the lights that wouldn't go in a storage shed for a time?
The wood?
That would not. Because street lights, correct me if I'm wrong, they can't be installed yet, right? We'd have to hold on to them until
Keep
we've
working with UDOT.
dug the sidewalk out, worked with UDOT. So they're going to go in a storage shed for a little bit.
Right.
Was there anything like the sidewalks that we could justify or like that could be done now on Main Street that's
Not with
not?
this money, I don't think.
Okay.
Not with this.
But we have 1.7 million.
I'm not against the lights, by the way. Just
You know, we got-
curious
we
if
got
there
a lot of
were.
money to move forward. It's just,
Just curious if
Just
there were
trying to
other
get the money
options. Yeah.
spent,
Yeah.
so the issue we have kind of with Main Street is that we're just sort of just getting things sort of going. We don't have what Lyle's asking for with Main Street. We don't know, other than having Chris say, yeah, I think it would maybe be something like this. We don't have anything like we don't have a budget, an engineer's estimate on Main Street yet.
So all we're doing is talking and focusing on one thing, and we're not talking about the elephant in the room, which is Main Street.
Well, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that we are talking about it, but we're trying to, this is what we sort of can do right now. And then we go to work and we decide, you guys decide what you want what do you want Main Street to look like? We don't know that yet. And I guess I feel like we're just a little, my feeling is that if we get this pivot done and then we move forward with this project, get something started, and then we can, then you guys can sort of hammer out how you want Main Street to look.
And we're working on that with the committee as well. The committee hasn't disbanded. We're still working through those things. Like I said, we met with UDOT and talked to them about some of our concepts. We've got some preferred ideas and things like that. And we're going to maybe even do that in phases as well, based on how the money is available or not. Some of the pavement treatments, for example, can be expensive, but they're not a priority right away. The sidewalks are, because they're a safety concern. Removing the trees is an easy place to start with it. That they're universally understood to be both in need of replacement and just kind of one of those low-hanging fruit kinds of things. So we'd like to get going on that. So Main Street isn't not part of the conversation. It's just this is a phase 2 part. So we're dealing with paragraph number 1 now, which is Midland, and then we'll continue on in and continue the conversation about Main Street and the improvements there as well.
I know we haven't got time, but I have to vocalize this. We put the directional committee together to talk about Main Street with the specifics not to even bring the park into the discussion.
Very specifically said.
Very specifically, this group was put together to talk about what we needed down Main Street
Leave Midland out of it.
without Midland Square being part of it. And somehow, after 6 months, it swung around to where they got done with discussing Main Street, and then we talked about the park again. And I have to vocalize, with the ignorant looks I'm getting in here and everything, that it is a lightning rod. This causes nothing but frustration in the community with people. And here we are, I feel like a bull with a ring in my nose getting led right down the path on which way I'm supposed to vote without even knowing what the other numbers are on Main Street. I mean, tonight, our choice is, we got to go this direction to keep that $400,000
And this
bucks.
happened 1 year ago, this exact feeling we're getting right now.
And so we're being led down a path on where we're being forced to vote. And it's just, I don't feel comfortable with this. And I know we need to do something. I know we need to do something to keep the grant going and that type of stuff. But we've had plenty of time to get numbers put together, and all we have is numbers on the park, period. And lights.
It's because the design for Main Street hasn't been finished yet, and we haven't gotten it to you for review and approval yet. We talked with UDOT to make sure that we were not barking up the wrong tree, and then we're gonna start, that's our next step here with this. is to
And I
start-
appreciate it, because since you stepped in, we finally have UDOT involved with the conversation, which should have happened a long time ago. And if we had the discussion, which we don't have time, I mean, how far does 24 lights get us? Is that just 2 blocks? Is that just 1 block? I mean, we haven't even talked. We don't need to tear up the cement. I mean, all these discussions need to be had before we ask for Chris to give us numbers. And we're not even there yet.
That's where staff is with Main Street, and that's why we're kind of pushing, and I apologize. I wasn't here for the original conversation, so I didn't know that
Agreed.
don't talk about Midland Square because that's a lightning rod and just stay away from it. That's fair, that's fine, but I wasn't part of that. My understanding was it was all part and parcel to the downtown revitalization effort. So that's why the conversation went that's how we ended up where we are. And the grant that was applied for was not from Main Street, it was from Midland Square. Again, I wasn't part of the grant writing process. I don't know how that happened. I can't speak to that. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying I don't know. And don't know in this case is just don't know. I don't know how it didn't get across that the council wanted Main Street only, leave Midland Square alone. I don't know how that didn't transfer over to the grant process. But regardless, the mayor and I have been trying to pivot the grant to include some Main Street, which is how we're getting the lights paid for. And then Midland Square is just going to be what it is.
Well, that needed to be said so everybody,
And I appreciate that.
Par
I do.
here on
I appreciate
what's happening.
bringing me up to speed. And it's a little bit easier to understand now, especially this conversation tonight and as well as the one a month ago, or 3 weeks or whenever it was before Christmas. I've slept since then.
we don't want to lose the grant.
We don't want to lose. It's $500,000. We just don't want to fritter away. But
Crazy to lose the grant. So tonight, if we make a decision, we're being forced to vote on doing the park so we don't lose it.
well,
At the expense of not doing anything down Main Street, but put lights in a garage.
this is, and we'll get to this when we get to the strategic planning and the communication piece that I've tried to outline a little bit in my memo. But I have a very different way of doing things, and we wouldn't be having this conversation in a year. Hopefully, these kinds of conversations will be done because it's super uncomfortable for everybody. I know it is for you because you feel like your hands are tied. It's frustrating for staff because we feel like we did what we were supposed to do, and now we're hearing no. This is not right. This is not what we wanted at all.
Yeah, and then we get phone calls from community members, asking us that, and it's hard to clarify.
Sure.
Right.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling your pain, I guess is what I'm saying.
I just don't think our city council, the council was really ever really represented to your employees as to how he felt. I really
And,
don't.
and that may be the case
The mayor's opinion, but not ours.
because it never got transferred to me by Mark or Sean or, the people that were in this chair before me, that this is the direction that you all wanted to go. So I'm playing catch up. And again, the grant was written towards Midland Square. So I don't know how that happened.
The grant, I was late to the grant, but the grant was written for Midland Square and it was moving forward till it wasn't, till we had so much controversy. Then I thought even the last time we left here, they were gonna see if the grant, which obviously it can't, could just move to Main Street.
I mean, they told us it could move to Schuman Park, and it was very broad what we could use it for.
Yeah, grants are never that way. And I would never represent
I
that
talked
to
to him
you.
on the phone.
Yeah,
And they told me that you can repivot and you can use the money, for economic development anywhere along your Main Street. And so they told us we could repivot. And it didn't need to be Midland Square.
well, that's, if it's written that way, then yes. If it's written to say, this is the narrow scope of what we plan to do with the money you give us, then if you don't write it in broad scope saying, we're going to do something downtown to make it look nicer and hopefully revitalize and get more economic development and all that. If you don't say it that way in broad strokes terms like that, then they get locked into, we're purchasing a Midland Square. Now, if you want Midland Square, you should say, we want Midland Square. If you don't want Midland Square, you should leave it broad. The problem is, the more specific you can get with the project, the easier it is for them to buy off on it. Because instead of saying, we're gonna do something with your $500,000 towards economic development somewhere in our city. Well, of course, that's great for us, but for the committee that's making a decision, it sounds like we're coming at it a little bit half-baked. And they're gonna say, no, let's give the money to Garland because they've got better detail and a more exact
And execution.
idea of what they're doing, yeah.
Cart before the horse, again, if we knew what all the numbers were, sorry to keep saying it, we could prioritize. If there's enough money to fix Main Street and there's excess money, then let's put that money into the park and get it done. That's the way we should be looking at it, but
100% agree.
we don't know what the numbers are down Main Street. We only know these numbers here, And that's all we have knowledge about.
This whole project is, if you'll forgive me, it's just a little bit snake bit and quite a bit backwards from the way I normally run things. And the way you're talking is the way I normally have seen things done and the way I like to do them, because it's a lot more comfortable for me than having these kinds of conversations after the fact. What typically happens is what we're doing with Main Street right now. You form a committee,
Yep.
you get the design locked in, you get some numbers, and then you start shopping for grants. Because you know you know how much to ask for, you know what you're looking for, and you're not just throwing a swag out there to hope that things work out all right. Because, yeah, there's a lot of uncomfortable questions. And
So why can't this money be, or why can't this grant be extended for 6 months or so while we're getting those numbers?
we're asking for that, but again, we're asking for an extension for the time. We're asking for a pivot from just focusing on just Midland Square to include some infrastructure on Main Street. And the reason why we're asking for the lights specifically is because we know roughly the quantity we want and roughly how much they're gonna cost. That's why we feel comfortable asking for the streetlights and not sidewalk quantities or pavement treatments or other things like that.
And I know there was conversation about facade improvements, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just saying it publicly and vocally so that we're all on the same page with that, would be that there's still standards that need to be set up. The program needs to be built so that we can go execute that.
That's right.
And it's pre-baked. It's not ready for facade improvement grants or a program of the sort to be able to focus on Main Street that way with this budget.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we're working on. That may want to come out of another fund, like an RDA type fund or situation.
Okay.
And, Brigham's got their Main Street grants. They're only $10,000 per building, which
Yeah.
sounds like basically nothing, really. But it's enough in some cases to help get people over the hump of, okay, yeah, instead of tearing it down, we're gonna do a refresh and get some paint or whatever on it to make it look a little better. But Jeff and I are working with Sam to develop some form-based code and some architectural standards and guidelines that we want to have in place before we start giving people money to just spend on whatever they think is right.
Of course. Yeah. So is the intention of tonight to set the vision for and have this conversation about unifying our vision about where we're headed and then plug this into it? Is that the idea?
Partially. And then I think that to talk about the specific numbers and see if you guys have any thoughts or concerns based on what we've been able to crunch on these numbers. And they are still a work in progress. So if you see something on this list that says, item 23, which I can't read, my eyes aren't great, but you guys can see that. If you're like, no, that needs to go out, we can put that off and push that to phase 2, whatever. Let's move one of these bid alternates up and in. Now is the time to kind of think about that. But the main thing is, if we're going to be reaching for a pivot and or an extension on this, we kind of need to do it tonight because the thing is due next week. And the mayor's got it all written up and it looks good. And I think it's based on our feedback from Monica and things that I think we're going to be in good shape that way. I'm not worried about it, but we still need your thumbs up on the thing.
Can you roll that down so we can take a look at it again? Still blind. Or up, I mean. There we go, 1 through, 18? So we can see it?
They're 1 through 20.
That's good.
Yep.
So like we mentioned, this is just a work session item. And so it's no official action will be taken on this. This is the direction you told us to go last month to get these numbers in front of you. The mayor has I don't know if he's already sent it to you, but if
Yeah,
not,
they should be sent out.
Do we need UDOT's permission to rip up our sidewalks?
That's not to my knowledge.
Not to tear them out,
They're our
but
property, that's us. UDOT's begins at the curb on into the blacktop.
So we can rip up sidewalks and put in
Yeah.
planters and put in light poles and everything.
Right, right.
Without UDOT's permission.
So tonight,
Paul,
Gonna move, we're gonna have to put in more sidewalk.
Well, no, we're not gonna touch the curb.
So,
not gonna touch the curb.
With the concept you guys approved, the curb moves in 11 feet off both sides.
hang on a minute, there you go. We did
Yep.
not approve it. We said, go ahead and look at the numbers
Right.
so that we can look at it to approve it.
Conceptual approval.
That was an approval to look at the
Going
numbers.
Like this.
See, it gets twisted just right there.
so that's that's why we're still talking. Nothing's been approved until you approve it. And what Jeff means by conceptual approval means the approval in concept, not necessarily approval of the numbers or the budget or anything like that. Although the budget is what it is because the mayor has looked and kind of taken the amount that the city council's already set aside as well as what we got from the grant and kind of reverse engineered the budget based on what we have in the kitty and put these numbers to it. This is what we can afford to buy.
With the grant.
With the grant
We
and,
have almost $2 million more.
but we do have some in the RDA and some other things that are for this kind of thing, so.
Yeah, so you combine the two and you can get a lot done.
But we can, but again, the main thing is, we don't want to put that all towards Midland Square at this point. We want to hold most of that back for how much we think it's going to cost
Yeah,
to
I
get
was
Main
kind of
Street
thinking the
done.
opposite. Put it all in Main Street and don't put very much in Midland Square at all.
Well, that's why we're doing this way, at least my understanding. And again, I'm late to the game, but my understanding was, let's get grant money to deal with this Midland Square and then use the RDA and whatever else that we've got control over out on Main Street to make those improvements.
So I got a question, and I'm glad Monica's here. So
Sorry,
if
I
we,
was in a budget meeting myself, so I got here as
I
soon
mean,
as I
where
could.
Monica sits on that committee, it's great to have her here. So, you know, if we were tonight approve Lyle's first phase to try to get access to that grant with the idea that we're not going to move until we get all the numbers down Main Street. So then we can decide what's priority at that point. Whether we spend the money coming down Main Street, that's what we want to do, and any excess go into the park. But I understand the flat work and that stuff needs to be done. You need to roll electricity and water and that type of stuff through there, but you're taking the choice away from us. The park is becoming number one here in priority, and Main Street's number two.
Well, I can understand that concern, and I actually, I can't speak to that again because I wasn't here, so I'm gonna keep playing that card until it wears out. But,
It's true though.
well, what is also true, and I wrote this in my memo, is that funding reflects priorities. So if we're spending $500,000 on Midland Square, but 1.8 million on Main Street, Midland Square just may be first because of timing, but that's not necessarily the priority. The priority is where you spend the most of your money, which is going to be Main Street.
And I agree, if we knew what the numbers were, we could
it's-
say what you're saying.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. The concept plan that we have for Main Street is going to be quite expensive, and it's going to look fantastic. We've been working on that, and I'm really excited about it. We haven't brought it to you yet because it's not quite right, because we want to be careful with how we approach it and with UDOT and with the phasing of the thing, reflecting both the amount of money that we have available, but also some things just take time to get in the ground.
So don't you think it'd be a good idea to have that discussion up front, like you said before, and try to get our concepts to put into it? You're still doing it the other way, where you're putting the concept together, then you're gonna submit it to us like this.
No,
Do you
not-
approve it or not?
Not like this. And we don't, the funding is what it is. It's through the RDA, and we have more flexibility on that with the timing because we're in control of that. So
So
that's,
if I'm hearing you right, we're all addressing the fact that historically speaking, we put the cart before the horse. There's been miscommunication, people that weren't in roles, etc. And that's led us to today's situation where we're trying to approve something last second with a timeline. Might not be what we want, but it's getting us to what we can do. Clear frustrations by many because it has been expressed that we're out of order historically, but then that, and here we are today with a week to decide, right? But you're saying procedurally we're changing things and we're going to bring a plan for Main Street, but due to the deadline, we have to do it this way on this item.
Our next step, so we've approved a preferred concept, which isn't even a real concept, it's just a preferred concept and solution, a preferred design for Main Street. We ran that past UDOT a few weeks ago. They're on board. We're now working, 30% plans, something like that?
Yeah.
So when you do a roadway redesign, you do different steps. You do a 30%, a 50%, a 70%, and then you put it out on the street, okay? At each of those phases, we're gonna come back to you and say, this is what we're looking at. This is how the budget is being affected. You can say yay or nay at that point. We'll have numbers, they'll be loose numbers, but you'll be able to see what we're thinking. And you'll see the direction that we're going. And you'll be able to help us, which is your role, stay within the budget guidelines that you guys have set forth.
What kind of a time frame do you know on that Main Street plan? And was that originally guided by the steering committee, those ideas and concepts too? And the way that you're putting that together? Awesome.
Yeah, so the steering committee came up with the preferred concept that we then brought to council a few months back. So then with the council's approval, we met with UDOT, got their thumbs up. I have a follow-up meeting with Chris and with Sam later this week just to see how they're doing with it through the holidays. And understand kind of what their timeline and availability looks like now that the new year started. So I think with 30% plans, probably 3-ish weeks to be put together.
At which point, we will bring it to you for review and a thumbs up on proceeding with the 30% on into the 50 and then the 70%.
And UDOT didn't have a concern. I have a huge concern with that being it is a highway and it's used heavily.
Thoroughfare. It's a main.
I have a huge concern of making it smaller.
We're not planning to make it any smaller than it is. We're not planning to encroach on any,
Where's 11 feet coming from?
We're just repurposing the parking, the parallel parking. The drive aisles, all the turn lanes, they're gonna stay the same. The road, traffic-wise, will behave the same way it does now. All we're doing is repurposing and in my opinion, improving how the parallel parking area of the road can function.
And the turnout so that you can get out like that
And with the-
46-foot ladder truck can get out and make it to Main Street?
yeah, we're studiously making sure that that is the case. Those radiuses for those bulb outs, if any, and that's, maybe even a future phase of the thing, but we're gonna study the thing to death. UDOT's gonna look at it. We're gonna have our traffic people look at it and make sure that big rigs and everyone else, maybe a truck and pup might have a little bit of a hard time getting around because those things are long. But
I was in Logan Saturday morning and it was snowing over there. And they had Logan's is a highway and they had 3 plows going and it's bigger. But I was thinking, Paul was just saying it's nice to have that be a highway because they're out at their expense, keeping our city so we can move. And I just think
100%.
to ruin that.
By having bump outs. That's
By
what you-
having the bump outs because they won't plow in, and I understand there's a lot of cars there anyway at different times, but
And with each time we bring it to the council, we also will be taking it to UDOT for their review and approval as well. And we'll provide any kind of digital files that they need to also do analyses. We actually spent a good portion of the meeting with UDOT looking at what happened in Main Street in Richfield. And they expressed some very detail leveled concerns about how the curb and gutter and snow plowing and all that, and that was at the forefront of their mind, so.
Sure, they're not new to it.
No, they're not new to it. So a lot of the concerns that you're expressing right now as a council, UDOT has 100% under, like, that's their number one priority, if not 1A, 1B, and 1C.
Does that help? I don't know. Brett shakes his head. We're playing a little bit
It's
of,
back where we were a year ago.
sure, and
Voting again, and now we're gonna be on the news, and we're gonna have all kinds of things going again because we're just going down the same path we did last year. And we don't have the community's backing on this. You know, we've got, I don't think the majority of the people feel good about the direction we're headed, in my opinion. And so, I think it's a lightning rod, and I don't want to be standing holding it.
So my question then is, we're all in agreement that we don't want to lose the 405,000. My question then to you is, help me with this pivot. Help me understand how we can, because we don't have a budget for Main Street. We don't have anything sort of really concrete as to what we can pivot this thing to. I need to know what it is, how we're going to pivot this money in less than 10 days. Help me out.
and help me to understand if, and again, I wasn't here, so again, playing that card, but I wasn't here, and I need to understand, how is this such a lightning rod? It seems to me that if there's a place in town that needs attention, and people have said, let's revitalize downtown, and this Midland Square happens to be downtown, why has it become such a place where people don't want anything to, just don't touch it?
The feedback I've heard is just if you drive down Main Street, it's the nicest spot in town is Midland Square. So to be allocating our budget to redoing something that is the nicest spot on our Main Street, that's the feedback I'm hearing. Along with, potentially disturbing, and again, this is feedback. I'm not saying it's my opinion, but I am, I want to vocalize what the people are saying, which is, I feel my job, and that is the veterans, feel that it disrupts that space, and turns it into something that is more of an event center rather than a sacred spot for, veterans to be respected. So again, I have my own opinion on that, but that's the word on the street that I keep hearing from some. So
I've heard the same things, kind of. Not my, I'm just like you, that's not my opinion of it, but that's some people's, and
yeah, it's more so what I'm getting feedback is it just feels out of order, which I personally kind of agree with some of, if we were to prioritize Main Street efforts, but I'm also not a city planner. I also don't you know what I mean? So I'm asking the same question you are. Why are we putting this first? Why is the park first?
Well, the short answer is because that's the funding that we got, and that the funding grant that was applied for dealt almost exclusively with Midland Square. So, and I'm again, I don't know how that happened.
Shaking her head.
Yeah, it was, and, because I've read it, and the other is just, if you look at other things funded through that same grant, they are a lot like their community areas, their economic areas, so economic opportunity, so we funded like Vernal's Main Street, but it was like the parking for this district downtown. There's been funding for main streets, but it's revitalizing a certain area. This one was written for Midland Square to promote it and stuff. So it is very specific, and it's got to prove economic opportunity. And so, yeah, it's very specific, the way it was written. So, and it's already been a couple of years.
I just wanted to say that in my world, there's a few places more sacred than an LDS temple. And I grew up in Utah County. I know. Sorry, I got here as quick as I could. And they're redoing the Provo Temple right now. And they redid the Provo Tabernacle, which I spent many, many hours in as a musician in high school. And my mother was involved with productions and things that went on there when we lived in Provo. And things change, life changes. It hopefully moves towards the better. Hopefully the design of something that happened in 1969, which is when the Provo Temple was dedicated, has lived its life, and it's time now to renovate and to improve and to bring a sacred space into a place where it can bless more people in perpetuity. The veterans are being taken care of. We have talked to them extensively. A third portion, the westerly side of the square is being designed with an eye towards making sure that those sacred and unbelievably valuable contributions and sacrifices will be honored. And we're not going to touch what's there now. We're just expanding what is there and hopefully highlighting some additional things there through that. But at the end of the day, it is our city's plaza. It's a city plaza, not a veterans plaza. And, unless you guys tell us, no, let's let the veterans do their thing, we're going to try to make it so that it has some economic impact and benefit as well, which is where the design came from.
So I think we ought to go back to Lyle's question. If you're going to pivot, how do you want to pivot? And I don't think we have a choice with the way this is presented. There is no choice. Either we go with it or we don't.
Well, we don't wanna lose the money.
So we're forced to
Flat,
vote
flat,
this way.
flat. I mean, that'd be
I
stupid.
will just point out, like, looking at it, and I met with Lyle, is $120,000 is restrooms, which Brigham is the exact same way. There are no public restrooms in Tremont or Brigham on Main Street. And so when we have trick or treat on Main Street with 1,200 kids there, I don't know where they're going to the restroom unless they're running in here. Or Ken's Marketplace or Ridley's, seriously, because I don't have an office here, so I know where all the public restrooms are. So, because there's a lot of businesses that are like, yeah, you can't go inside my banks, all kinds of businesses don't allow customers to use their restrooms, and Main Street businesses tend to do that. So if you look at it as public restrooms, not Midland Square Park, but public restrooms for your Main Street corridor, you are developing Main Street corridor. And then the bottom, the 120,000 is Main Street lighting, which again is the corridor, not Midland Square. So really, those are your two biggest expenses of that 240,000 of it is there. The electrical is nice. I work with public plazas all the time. I bring in vendors in my community. It is nice to have electricity there because eventually somebody's going to need it to plug in a power system. I know at Trick or Treat on Main Street, we had one of our businesses want to plug in an air blow up thing this year. There's very little spots around there. And so these are events that are already happening and getting people downtown. The sound system Zach brings plugs into the clock tower, but there is very limited. But like I said, the biggest thing is bathrooms. I mean, if someone decides to walk Main Street or exercise on Main Street, it's not elegant, it's not beautiful, but it is a necessity for people. So looking at it that way, going, okay, we need to put public restrooms somewhere that the city can, offer to people as they're walking, or if you ever want them to shop or do a sidewalk sale for the businesses and stuff. So that's the way I was looking at it is, what services are needed, and Midland Square might be where you put them. If not, somewhere else where you could put public restrooms. But that's what I was looking at is, and that doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the park. That's one little area of a building, maybe a shade structure so that when there are events there, especially for the veterans, that they can stand under it in case of rain or shine, or rain or sun, because I know with when the renaming of the street, we were all out in the street, and would have been nice to be under some shade, but that's okay. It was in November, so it was cold. But yeah, so like honestly, I think of it as like public restrooms is a huge thing. And then the other lights are you buy them now and you install them later, but you use the grant money now. The money can be like whenever the governor's office, whenever Lyle submits it, and then they'll email the committee and the committee votes yes or no. There's a bunch of us on the committee. But until you guys use that money, you guys are encumbered and can't apply for another one. But other communities can. So the faster you do get it, the faster you can apply for a second one to do something else on Main Street, or do something else in the valley, or an industrial park, or utilities, because this fund is not just a Main Street fund. It can be used for any economic opportunity. But until this is spent, you can't apply for another one. I do know that.
So if we bring this thing to a head tonight, Bill, can we make a motion to approve the first phase to get it going so we can keep the grant, with the idea that the second phase is not going to be approved until we see the whole picture
100%.
of
That's
what the
exactly
whole
what we're looking
cost of
for.
Main Street's going to be, so we can prioritize. I mean, we're spending $5,000 a light. I'd love to see what the lights look like. You know what I mean?
We don't know. We haven't shopped in. That's my experience is that they range from 5,000 to 10,000. We went with the lower end. We'll go with the Chevy instead of the Cadillac. We'll still get there.
Are we not matching the streetlights we already have?
They may be different because we're trying to develop a downtown theme. So that's against a conversation we'll have. We'll bring you options and we'll talk about it.
But tonight, if we do it that way, that keeps things rolling with the
Correct.
grant.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of action we were hoping for. And
And
again,
like those lights aren't for Midland Square, they're for Main Street. So they're, you just buy them and then you put them in when you're ready.
If I can say something, please.
please.
I feel really bad that our Main Street Committee and our employees think that we're fighting with them. We're not, okay? I think that we just haven't communicated well, and I think what their expectations have not been what ours are. And so they're doing what they're supposed to, okay, without clear expectations of what we wanted in return. And so that's where the debate is coming.
Yeah.
And so, to the Main Street Committee and to the employees of the city, thank you for doing everything you've done. And we're not unappreciative of all your efforts. And please, I feel bad that people feel that way, because that wasn't the intent. The other thing, however, on this, in my opinion, I think if we could we can do something with Midland. I just don't want to change its function.
Right.
Okay? And so taking down the big trees and flattening it out and putting in restrooms and things like that only enhances that area. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But when we start going with, we're gonna do a lot more things that, all of a sudden starts to cringe on the memorial and starts to cringe on other things, I don't feel good about that. But I'm okay with getting in and doing some prep work and making it, it's not very functional now with those big pine trees and the big hump of grass in there.
Space.
And so, I'm okay going that far, but I'm not okay going to the full extent right now, because I think that's where we're gonna get the lightning rod going.
Can I ask, is the steering committee's opinion is to move forward with this? Is that true?
Is what now?
Is the steering committee's opinion that we should move forward with this plan?
We have
As a
representatives from the steering committee.
as a priority, because yeah, what Brett said, I agree with. The work that's been put in is incredible. I think the lack of the financials is what's led us to say, hey, slow down.
Sure.
Right? And just the fact that we're working backwards, and you've alluded to that, makes us say, hang on. And that's not us saying we don't like the plan, because we do. It's more so just it feels like the cart's before the horse without financial budgeting. But from a where we're at today, is it the opinion of the steering committee that we do this?
The majority of the steering committee has voted to approve that concept for Midland Square. And that's, we did not develop the phased development of that, but we were of the opinion that that concept should be brought to fruition. And I don't think that the phasing of that, I think has been, that's the city's prerogative anyway. But yes, we have voted and approved that concept for Midland Square. And talked as well about going ahead and buying the streetlights in advance. We're all agreed.
Okay.
Midland Square really ended up a cluster when we wanted to change. You know, the veterans didn't feel like they had part of it, and the community, you know, some want the farmer's market there, some don't, things like that. That's why it's just been pushed and pushed and pushed to where we're spot on where we was a year or so ago. But I'm like Brett, that we can't lose that money. We don't have to do everything that's on that. I think the restroom's gonna be more than what that says personally, but
According to Chris, they've done others that are similar to
Have
this,
they?
and that's
Okay.
where they've been coming in at. So I only go on what Chris is saying on that. But
and maybe we can, is that somebody else plumbing it or is that us plumbing it?
It would be the contractor doing all the work.
See, that could be possible. We could save a few bucks. Maybe. I can't talk for Paul or whatever, but I think
Paul
we-
likes it when you talk
we could-
for him.
Well, as long as it's after April 1st, he don't care, so it's not gonna be done by then, but you know what I'm saying? The city can throw in a few things here and there too, I hope.
So what exactly is this phase one?
What you see on the list.
Well, I see that. So demolition, you're gonna just rip the whole park out?
Well, flatten it, so the concrete
Bring in
walls and different things like that, those will be taken out. It'll be grubbed out to be level. And then, you know, the concrete flat work will be done, the
Electrical will be in there.
the irrigation, the power and everything else.
See, I would, me personally, on that picture that we seen, I wouldn't put no lawn in it, but some people want lawn. I thought it'd all be concrete, so that if you had something, you don't have to water it, you don't have to mow it, you don't have to, just a few little blips like that in my book, but
It would be nice to come back with, you know, I can see us moving forward with the concept. However, it'd be nice to come back and start to follow the process we want to follow at this point.
Yeah.
And come back with a concept and start saying, this is what we'd like to do, this isn't what we'd like to do, and start to follow the process the way that you would like to and we would like you to.
Sure.
But I just don't want to be handcuffed into a concept that maybe not everyone's going to agree. I understand that. But
Now, this is part of the frustration too, and just to put a fine point on it, I feel like it's ready, fire, aim with all of these things instead of ready, aim, proceed.
I think we just discussed your strategic planning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, and so we may
Just
not even
kidding
have
you,
to.
but,
We may
yeah.
not even have to discuss that at this point because you have the memo in front of you, and I think it speaks for itself. And the conversation we're having as we discuss these things is really what it boils down to me is communication. If you guys feel like you're in the loop as we go through these things, as you guys feel like you're part of the decision process, it becomes a lot easier when you get in this kind of a setting to say, yeah, we know exactly what was going on. We know what to expect. We've seen the budget numbers. We've helped make the decisions. The decisions were not made for us by going for a grant that now we feel like we have to just go with because we got the money, and who's going to throw away $500,000? The residents won't thank you for that either. So, it's a catch-22 that you're in right now, but going forward, my hope is to do a lot more in the way of communication and keeping you guys both in the loop as well as getting the input that we need from you to make these decisions.
Yeah, we need these, almost, I mean, it's not a secret that you could text them to us or email them to us a couple of weeks so that we can look, and then you come and say, this is what we're looking at, and we could say, no, we want this or we want that, and then adjust budget and things like that to it.
Well, and that's why another item on the agenda here is the grants for the RDA funds for moderate income housing stuff. That hasn't been approved. I've got input from, the money's been approved. I saw Cynthia looking at me. The money's been approved, but the way that we administrate the thing, that's all new.
Right.
I pulled that from some other sources. I've had the mayor look at it. I've had other staff look at it. I've had neighborhood nonprofit and Habitat for Humanity look at it. Now it's to the point where I feel comfortable getting your guys' input. So that's what tonight's conversation is about. That is, tell me what you think. And in 2 weeks, we'll bring it forward again. You guys will have had an opportunity to give me your input. I'll make changes, tweaks, adjustments, whatever. And then, starting in February, assuming you guys approve it, we'll put it out on the street and let people start taking bites of that apple, which is what you want, which is what it's for. So,
can we approve this and expect to have some, and let's just, I know I'm gonna make people upset with this. Can we throw the concept away and start over? In a sense.
no, because we got a budget.
We wouldn't have the
We got
numbers.
an approved concept, or not approved, but by a recommended concept from the steering committee. And if you threw it away now, it would be like getting rid of all of their work. And
Well, hey, I got it.
Other than
The steering
you're
committee
gonna have-
put together concepts. They didn't know what the numbers were.
right,
And so now we know what the numbers are, we can actually make some decisions. I mean, so you can't say that steering committee did not know what the numbers were.
well, the steering committee wasn't supposed to know what the numbers were. The steering committee comes up with a preferred concept regardless of it, and then it's our job to start looking at, and if we need to take out the sod because it's too expensive or whatever, then we can do that.
Exactly.
So maybe I misspoke saying that, but we can't just throw the whole thing out saying, thanks, but no thanks, steering committee.
No, but it's like building a house. You're gonna go a certain part and then go, well,
Oh,
we
wait.
want that, but we can't afford that. So now we're gonna have something different.
And
You know,
in part, that's what we've done here with the bid alternates. We pulled out some things that we said we can hold off on these until a phase 2 if need be. If it's possible, we'd love to have these in phase 1, but, let's hold off and just in case it's too expensive. We can go through that same kind of process with bid alternates on some of these other things. But from what the mayor and I looked at with the budgets that we have, the constraints that we have, we can go ahead and pay for all of it the way it is. For financial reasons, there's no need to pare out anymore. The mayor and I have already kind of done that process. So unless you guys feel like it needs to be even leaner than what it is for
Well, it
some
almost
reason.
sounds to me like, if you're going with more flat work, less sod, or if you're going with, making adjustments
Concepts
here
are
and
saying
there,
that maybe
concepts,
the-
basic concept is there, but we're making adjustments and tweaks as we're moving along. That's what I think I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, we can do that. That's something we can do.
Which is the 30, 50, 70 you were referring to, right?
Yeah,
Ish.
yeah.
And if I could, I don't know if I'm out of turn here, but if I could speak to a little bit about why the steering.
Why don't you come up so we can make sure we get you on the record, Jared?
Just up here.
Right over, just right, yeah, either way would work.
If I could just speak to, I was so excited for this meeting because I wasn't going to get up and speak.
Jim poked you in the elbow, in the ribs, didn't he? Get up.
Must have done. So the Main Street Steering Committee has considered, and perhaps imperfectly, but to the best of our ability, some public opinion. We've collectively read and shared studies between us to try and come up with some of these concepts, and we've leaned on experts heavily to develop this, not only this plaza space, but all of the concepts that you've seen. In no way and I want to apologize to the council if it seemed like we said that you had to do it exactly this way. The way that we saw it is that we were to make recommendations to the city council, a basis to jump off of so that you guys don't have to sit there and read the studies until the wee hours of the morning and put out a survey and do all of this work. We hope that you would consider these concepts, and if you want to know more about sort of why we recommended things the way that we did, you can talk to us, you can talk to Sam Taylor, and you can talk to Ron Gailey. Sam Taylor was the one who drew up the concepts. Ron Gailey was the one that helped us develop surveys. So we would ask that you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But by all means, if the saw doesn't work, we were never married to that idea. We just saw it as a way to make that plaza space achieve the purpose of having a central space for people to gather and the economic hub of the city. Does that make sense? So tweak it, by all means. But we did do a lot of study for you guys to come up with those concepts.
I was surprised to hear the steering committee felt deflated. That I actually felt like I was by focusing and moving forward on Midland, that we were diminishing all the efforts that went to this Main Street steering committee. So that's why I've been focused more on Main Street, because I thought what I heard from the steering committee was that we were to focus there, not Midland Square.
That's what
So
I'm
I guess that's where my confusion has been, is in prioritization of all of these efforts. So I thought I was actually strengthening and supporting the steering committee by focusing more on Main Street and distracting from Midland Square. So just for the record. So I was a little surprised to hear that today, that the steering committee felt deflated by the last meeting, just based off of what, I have heard so far. So anyway, just FYI.
Spot on. I feel the same way. I felt that the Midland Square was like third or fourth or fifth on the priority list. And we had all these other things that needed to be done first. And that's where we're going to concentrate our efforts. And now it's become number one again and again and again. And so it's like, okay, just throw my hands up. And that has nothing to reflect on you guys and what you
Right.
did. Okay?
Well, we have some other things we need to, I don't know if, we were going to try to introduce Stan Summers, for those that came in after I made the announcement. He's had some surgery today, and his son is not doing well, so he has to be excused. Item number 3, if we could maybe move on to having Bill talk to us a little bit about some special projects and procedures, and give us a little insight there.
Well, you have my memo, and as we talked through what's been going on, I was approached by a couple of council members about the way things have happened in the past and how it's uncomfortable for me to make decisions in a vacuum. It's just a very cold breeze on certain parts of my body that I don't enjoy. So I like to do things in the light of day. I like to do things with your knowledge and approval and full-throated, full-shouted sing that company song, support, you know? If we're not on the same page and if we're not working in lockstep, I'm not doing my job right. So that's my commitment to you, is to make sure that you guys know what's going on, when, where, how, as much as I know, and to keep you informed and just, yeah, that's my job. That's my role and my commitment to you guys is to do that. I feel bad that it hasn't happened that way in the past. There's maybe a different school of thought than mine, and that is that, you know, I'm the city manager, and that means that I'm in charge of the administrative functions of the city, and that's given to me by statute in a lot of ways, and I don't like that. That's extremely uncomfortable for me. We get a much better product when we work together. I tell my wife that all the time too. We get a better product and a better outcome when we work together on things, and it's just true. So the memo that I wrote really is a broad strokes kind of ideas and principles kind of thought experiment and thought conversation about how a city council really should work, and how staff should work with the city council. In our form of government, we have a separation of powers and a separation of responsibilities. Your responsibility is to set the priorities, and the funding reflects those priorities. Timeline doesn't even necessarily reflect the priorities, because sometimes things can get done sooner than there's funding available. So, yeah, it's, I want to apologize for the confusion. I want to apologize for the frustration, but it's going to change, and we're going to do better at this, okay? If you look at what we have on the wall here, we've got a series of goals and principles, pillars, if you will, of what we want our city to look like and what the guiding principles are for the city. It's in the memo, it's on your screen, it's over here on the big board. These are what define us as a city, and this is how we hold on to our identity. My work has been with communities of our size and even smaller in different states and different communities around Utah. And it's always a struggle. There's a balance between how do you handle development, how do you handle growth, how do you handle the future, which we can't see, and how do you balance that with the need for holding on to your identity? We're seeing pressure to grow from all the way from Davis and Weber counties, and then the whole West is just exploding. And how do we hold on to what Tremont is? How do we make sure that we stay amazing? Because this is an amazing place. It's unique and special. How do we hold on to that? How do we not just become another Centerville, which is in the middle of nowhere, and you don't even know when you've been there?
Right in the middle.
Center, yeah, got it. So as we look at these things, again, I'm not going to read through this. You have it in your memo, but there are basically three different functions that three different worlds that you guys live in. The first is statutory. You guys set the policies, you set the laws, and you live within those laws, both on the state level as well as in our own local code. The next one is financial. You guys control the purse strings. And again, funding reflects priorities. Where you guys choose to put your money is what is the most important to you. Okay? I'm looking at you, police department. Oh, not here. Okay.
I'll spend.
Curtis will say this. What did he say? Something like 40% of our budget goes to the PD? Yeah. So we have other things that are expensive, enterprise funds and other things that pay for themselves and things like that. So it's expensive to run a city. You guys are in charge of all of that. And in decisions that we make together about where the funding goes, we should always hearken back to where is it that we're going? What is it that we're doing? What's the vision? And then third is oversight. And this is everyone's favorite one when the Congress gets involved and wants to oversee everything. This one is a little bit better at a local government level, but the challenge is You drive by somebody, there's a work crew out on the side of the road, and you just went through a pothole, and you want to say, hey, guys, quit leaning on your shovel, go over and fill that pothole I just drove through that messed up my alignment. Don't do that. Talk to me, talk to Paul, talk to the mayor, talk to one of us, and we'll get that taken care of. That guy leaning on a shovel may be watching someone down in a hole or a pit, making sure that it doesn't cave in, or there could be a safety issue at hand. So just there's a chain of command there, and we're better able to respond to that in a careful and considered way than just grab someone off the street and say, go take care of that pothole. That's my only thought that way. Otherwise, talk to the employees and love them, and if you see them on the road and they're leaning on a shovel, you feel free to razz them, but let them do their job. And yeah, if you have a need or a concern, get it to me or to the mayor or to department head, and we'll get that addressed.
On the same, I'm a little frustrated because if somebody wants my support, I gotta know about it before tonight.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm getting is tonight. It even frustrates me when you say, well, a couple of you, we've been talking offline and all that. Well, I don't know anything about that. I still have a job. I don't come in here every day. And I think we need to know.
Yeah.
And I don't. I got 4 questions on my phone after reading everything of things that I think's that I want to answer to on how we did it and what we did, but I should be able to do that before it's on the agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna work at, and I'm gonna work with Lindsay and Cynthia, and we're gonna work on getting, and the department heads, and we're gonna work on getting you your packets out a little earlier so you have more time to chew on it. And then we're gonna try to do better at communication along the way. There is some difficulty where you run into an Open and Public Meetings Act where you can't really have conversations amongst yourselves about items that are going to be on an agenda outside of an email chain, other than scheduling. It really needs to kind of come through. So if I send an email to everyone explaining what's going on, that's one thing, but then don't start talking amongst yourselves about it. Just hold off and wait till you get to the meeting. Or if you have questions, ask me or the mayor.
It might be just a simple, yeah, we don't do it that way thing, and then we're fine, but I don't, yeah.
So, yeah, we're on it. It's good feedback. Other thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, before you move on, if you go to your second paragraph, I think it's the second one at the very top. Right there. You're talking about goals. Oh, principles and goals. I agree, and you were saying that it's up to the city council to help set those priorities and those goals, and then we all work towards those goals. And so I would really like to see us as a council take each one of these pillars and set some very high-level strategic goals and plans. And then that will give each one of the department heads and everyone in the city something to work towards. And then we're all working towards a common cause. I think if we're doing that, that's going to help take care of some of these gaps we have with our communication. And so I would hope in the next few months that we can sit down and start setting some really good, high-level strategic goals in each one of these pillars.
I'm glad you said that, because I'd like everybody to pull out their calendar, and let's look at a time in the next few weeks when we can get together outside of a city council meeting and do just exactly that. That was actually a great segue, because I was literally about to ask for that.
Yeah, where there is vision, the people prosper, right?
There is no vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
What days are, like a Wednesday? What days
Wednesdays,
are people
Wednesdays and
available?
Fridays are hard for me, and
Oh, yeah,
Wednesdays are
with,
out for me.
that's right, okay.
Tuesday night.
It's basketball season for my kids, so.
Mondays and Tuesdays?
And I like the idea of meeting early on city council day and doing it.
I do too.
The problem is that 2 hours may not be enough. As you can see, we took almost an
Yeah.
hour and a half just on one project.
Can we spend it over several weeks and do it?
Maybe, but we were trying to get into some budget stuff too. Because it's getting close to starting to have those budget conversations.
I'm flexible. Just not Wednesday or Friday nights.
And then UHC's plan.
How much time do you think you need?
It's hard for me to gauge at this point. And apparently, we didn't have a lot of these conversations in the past, so I don't have any good feel for it. Just so you know, I've asked the department heads to put their pencils to some budget numbers and to pull everything back to these pillars as well. So, budget conversations going
Some of this
forward.
can be done offline personally, you know, if we would go and look at these pillars, and if we had a clear definition of what kind of goals and at what level we're trying to set those, we could come together and present a lot of our ideas, and I think we could come up with some things pretty quickly on goals. I really do.
Could we meet on a Monday, do this homework and then come together and get together and talk it, say on a Monday, the 13th? And
That's a week away. You might want a little more time than that, don't you
need a
think?
little more time than that? Well, then we could, maybe what we could do is just start again at 5 o'clock on the 21st, and then if we still need more time, we can
Schedule another one.
set another date.
I'm okay even earlier, so, but I don't know if everyone else is.
I am too.
You go 4.
I-
What's your earliest, Mr. Westergaard?
Well, I left early to be here at 5,
Okay.
but the 21st, I might have to be a call in. Anyway, I gotta go to St. George to some training.
We could take planning commission tonight on the 28th.
Okay.
13th,
Already got some agenda items.
You could do the
set for
13th.
12th, but by the 28th, we can just do
27th, 28th.
If he doesn't have planning commission, then the 28th is fine with me.
I think the more we put in on the front end,
5 o'clock on the 21st,
And then maybe come back and do, could we come back on the 28th and?
If need be, yeah. I don't want to beat it to death, guys. I'm with you. I've done strategic planning ad nauseum forever, and it's both really, really effective, but also pretty dry a lot of times. So, I don't want to beat it to death. I
well,
guess.
but it eliminates us getting a year down the road with being in the same
Having no
position.
direction.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so let's plan on,
I'm willing to put in the work to make sure that doesn't happen again.
me too. I appreciate that.
Bill too would give us some time for some internal QA/QC on what the department heads are gonna be able to submit.
Yeah, we've got some ideas that we're working on with the department heads and
No, it seems to me though that we really don't want, in the strategic planning I've done in the past, it's really been from the top down, you know, but it's a high level goal. It's not saying and so do we really want,
I always feel goals work better from the bottom up because it's goals that people want to accomplish and want to set, and then you guys can see how you feel about it. But in my experience, when goals come from the top down, it's harder to sell those and it's harder to execute on the personnel and the.
depending on how broad it is.
yeah.
Well, if it's
See
too
what I'm
broad,
saying?
it's not executable.
From the bottom up.
Neither have I.
What's that?
I've never done one from the bottom up, because there's always a.
I think I trust your judgment on this one.
Let's plan on the 21st and meet at 5 again, if that's all right with everybody. Mayor, does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll put a pin in, a placeholder in the 28th, just in case.
The 21st, I could still call in.
Yeah, yeah.
How far south you go?
To St. George, and I gotta be there Wednesday morning. So,
Just drive through the night. This is today.
We're too old to drive through the night. He can talk on his phone the whole way, huh?
All right, do you have anything else?
I think that's it for me. I just wanted to make sure we get that scheduled.
Okay. All right, why don't we've been at it for a while, why don't we go ahead and take a little break and we'll start up again at 7
Yeah,
o'clock.
kids will be coming in and
Just keep smiling. Just keep smiling.
Brady, did you get lunch?
I mean,
Okay, Mayor, you better get started, man. We're on.
Well, we're behind our time, aren't we? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Tremont City Council, the policy session to order. And appreciate everybody for coming out tonight, especially you young people. We're so thrilled that you're with us and for everything that you're accomplishing, and you're being such good examples for the rest of us. I've asked if Councilmember Lewis would open with a word of prayer. After Councilmember Lewis gives us a prayer, then Councilmember Eastep is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll go to that point.
Our dear, kind, beloved Heavenly Father, we come before Thee this night. We're grateful that we have the opportunity to come together as a community. We're grateful for our friendships and for being able to unite ourselves and be able to create a community that we love, that will be able to serve one another. We're grateful for all that we have, and we ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
The audience, please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I just wanted to, for those of you, especially young people that have not been here before, I just wanted to introduce to you our city council. Over to my left here, to your right, is our city manager, Bill Gobabe. Oh, you just make me nervous. And then we have our council member, Bo Lewis, and Blair Westergaard, Lyle Vance. Over here, we've got Brett Rohde and Wes Eastep, and our city recorder, Cynthia Nelson. And anyway, but we were, like I said, we're thrilled that you're here with us. Council, we're down to item number 3. Are there any conflicts of interest with tonight's agenda?
No.
Hearing none, we'll go on to approve the agenda for this evening.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda for tonight as written.
I'll second it.
Motion by Lyle Vance and seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yes.
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 Approval of the minutes for December 3rd, 2024. That was our last council meeting that we had. Any questions about the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for December 20.
Motion by Blair.
I
Do we have
second.
a second?
I second.
And seconded by Bo Lewis. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Tonight, it's kind of fun to be able to recognize some of our employees. So we're going to give out some years of service awards. First of all, to Adam Tischer, who is a firefighter and EMT, and he's been with us for 5 years. And we'll have Brady Hanson, if he'll come up here and give out that award if he's here.
I think Brady's outside in the thing, but I don't know if Adam's here.
here.
Adam's not here?
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Somebody holler for the fire chief. Poke his head around the corner. There we go. Is Adam here?
No, Adam's not here, he's working.
Okay.
It's working.
Okay, yeah, sorry, we were out there, sidebar, solving problems. Really an honor to recognize Adam Tischer on his 5-year anniversary. I got a chance to visit with Adam, and kind of congratulate him for reaching that milestone. A couple of things I wanted to tell you about Adam. He works full-time for Hill Air Force Base Fire, works part-time for us. That's a tremendous asset for us on our part-time staff because we get a wealth of knowledge and experience and different perspective. He's probably really one of the most active part-time firefighters that we have. He works a lot of shifts for us. Last year, Adam was recognized as Tree Mountain Firefighter of the Year. And that's something that goes to both part-time and full-time staff, and he was recognized in that largely for the commitment that he shows to our organization, and we're super happy to have him. He's currently our lead person for outfitting the new engine. We'll talk. You'll get a chance to see the new engine and talk a little bit about it. But even as a part-time member, he's that involved and is helping us get things mounted and outfitted on the new apparatus. And Adam will take any assignment that we give him willingly and with a good attitude. And then finally, I would say that he's a leader. Not promoted. We have leadership in place, but he's that informal leader that people look to and recognize. And I've gone over these things with him, and I'll reassure him of your support for him. And I want to thank you and certainly congratulate Adam on on 5-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Adam. Next, we have our Assistant City Manager, Lindsay Nessen. Lindsay, are you here?
She tried to hide.
She tried, but it didn't work. And Bill, our City Manager, Bill Kobe, will give that recognition.
So I want to take you back to 2010 for a minute. It was the year of the Gold Tiger. In January, the Burj Khalifa was officially completed. It was the tallest building in the world. The iPad was released in 2010. That's a weird thought. Instagram started in 2010, maybe of significance to some of you. Obamacare was approved. And in other news, in other traffic jam news, there was a 62-mile traffic jam in China. Coincidence? Toy Story 2 was in theaters as well as Inception, so we're still dreaming, and if you see a top spinning, you'll know what I'm talking about. The Saints won the Super Bowl, the San Francisco Giants won the World Series, and the Chicago Blackhawks, this is for you, Jeff, wherever you are,
And me.
won the Stanley Cup. Milk was $3.32 a gallon, eggs were $2.29 a dozen. Heinz ketchup was $1.69 for a 14-ounce bottle. Gas, $2.80. Movie tickets were $8. Now they're $12. A postage stamp was 44 cents. Justin Bieber was singing Baby, 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 Ooh. And Adele was singing Rolling in the Deep. And Lindsay Nessen started working at Tree Mountain City, which is the most significant event of the year. Lindsay was, she was born in Tree Mountain and has lived here almost all of her life. She left just for a little bit when she went to college, but then came right back. She never thought she would ever work for the city, but here she is, living the dream. Living the dream. And, 15 years that's a significant commitment. It's something that, it's a big deal, and it's awesome. The thing that she's passionate about in her life, this probably doesn't come as a surprise to those of us who know and love her, is that it's her boys. Her husband often tells her that she ought to get a hobby, but she says, no, I've got plenty on my plate with 3 boys that are active and interested in everything. So she loves being a mom and taking care of those boys. Her dream vacation would be to go back to Belize. It's a beautiful country, down tropical areas and nice and warm. And then the last question was, what is a fun fact about her? She is painfully shy. This is really kind of a special torture for her to stand in front of everybody like this. So I'm drawing it out as long as possible. But getting a degree and working through human resources has helped her get over that pretty quick. She is still pretty shy, but she's become someone that I've really come to rely on, and I look forward to seeing her smile. So thank you for your service, and thank you for your time, and thank you for your just being awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
Congratulations, Lindsay, as she walks out the door and never to be seated.
Half done, half done.
And thanks, Bill, for presenting that. Next, we have our citizenship awards for our young people. And if I could have our principals, Principal Balls and Call and Green, if you could come up, and we'll go ahead and present those awards. Oh, before we get started, I just wanted to, the reason why we do this is we want to recognize students who are exceptional and what they're doing. You know, the principals and their teachers are watching all of you very closely. And when you do something really, really special, they take note of that. And so what we're really looking at is for people who are young people who are respectful to their classmates and to their teachers. They're responsible, they get things done when they're supposed to be done, and also that they're safe and they try to be encourage safety in their classes and in their schools. And so this is a good reflection upon the parents. We want to congratulate you for raising such fine young people. We'll go ahead and give out these awards. Okay, to start with, we're going to start with Alice C. Harris and Lexi Holdaway. Are you here, Lexi? All right. And then McKinley Elementary, we have Cole Folkman. Okay, Cole, what we're going to have you do, just come over here by your principal. Here you go. Roxanne Grunig. Congratulations. Everly Davis. Congratulations. Hazel Walker. Now from North Park Elementary, we have Kensington Anderson. Maya Briner. Elias Cable. Evie Berger. Congratulations. Henley Taylor. Isadora Whitmore. Now what we'll do is we'll
Did
just
we
get those-
forget anybody, Mayor? We gotta double check we didn't miss somebody.
Oh, did we miss
We've done that
anybody?
once.
You got everybody?
Good deal.
All right.
You can move to the middle, you can do whatever to get good pictures.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Good job, you guys.
Good job. Woo!
like that jacket.
No, me too.
Nice.
And the shoes. See the shoes?
I missed the shoes.
The color.
You're welcome. Hey, but if you would like to leave, that's fine too. We understand.
Okay, see you later.
Not you.
Blair's like, oh.
I heard him say it.
I got it. Wait, where's this start?
Not nearly as nervous now. Everyone's gone. Talking to you guys.
Maybe they're out in the hall and they'll come back, yeah.
I know. Congratulations, it looks like. I was like, Jared was coming back in, I think. There he is. Do you guys want me to go ahead and start? Yeah?
I think
Okay.
we're ready.
Brett's like, yes, do it. Okay.
Let's go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Monica Holdaway with the Box Elder Chamber of Commerce. This is just not an annual. We're going to start doing these kind of monthly updates. Some of them will be written to you. Others will be presented by either myself or a board member. But to start the new year off, I'm here and want to just kind of give you some updates on what's going on and reminders of what we do here in the Bear River Valley. We have a legislative preview on Thursday. Unfortunately, our representatives can't be there, but Scott Sandel will be there. So if you want to come and hang out and visit with Senator Sandel one-on-one, we will be at the Hampton Inn, Tree Mountain, from 7:30 to 9 on Thursday. So we're excited about that. He'll talk to us about what's upcoming in the session.
Sorry, we just lost the TV.
Oh, that is right. Those are really big TVs.
That magic touch.
It's really big. So that event is coming right on up. And then in February, we'll be down at the legislature every week. On February 26th is our Box Elder County Day at the legislature. So we are part of Northern Utah Chamber Coalition. So we meet with all the chambers north of Salt Lake for our priorities. But that day is the day Box Elder County will conduct the meeting or early morning meeting. And then we take a tour of the Capitol afterwards. So again, you're more than welcome to come down. It is all the Northern Utah legislators, and we do that so we can have a little bit more power and be able to get priorities through. So that is coming up on March 21st. We have our Box Elder Business Summit. That one is held in Brigham City. This year, our keynote speaker is Jeremy and Kristen Andrus. They own Traeger Grills. They started Skull Candy, sold it, bought Traeger Grills. They're going to be our keynote speaker. And then we'll have breakout sessions. We have Brendan Blackham from here in Tremont is going to do AI and social media. We have a business resource panel, and I'm going to forget the other one. And then we're going to come back together, and we have our regional economist who's going to do the 5 top industries in Box Elder County and their future. And then we're ending with Mike Whitaker, who is the CEO and president of Whitaker Holdings, talking about making employees, exceptional employees from the ground up. So then we end the day with our Taste of Box Elder, which is all the samples of all the different restaurants in the county. It's the best lunch of the year. And Lyle Holmgren makes his ribs, which everybody comes for. They're so good. Anyway, and then in April, we'll have our yearly annual awards banquet. So March is the time to nominate for those awards. So be thinking about businesses. We do a home-based, small, medium, and large business of the year. And we also do the total citizen of the year and business person of the year. So please nominate people. You just send in a nomination, like a paragraph to me. You can just email it to me. And then our board will vote on it and make those decisions. And that will probably be in February timeframe to March. Last year, the chamber received a grant, actually the end of 23 for a workforce of helping our rural workers get higher paying jobs. And when I was out visiting businesses, that was their number one concern, especially if you think back about 7-9 months to a year ago, everybody had tons of job openings. And we found that they were having some barriers. So last year I showed you our economic dashboard. It is still on the Chamber's website. It gets automatically updated every 30 days, and it gives you a really good oversight of Box Elder County. When you look at the Tremont area statistics, just know it's everything from the 84337 zip code. So they do it by zip code, and we picked the Brigham City, Perry area, and then we use Tremont and zip code, and then we have Box Elder County as a whole. So when it does split things out, that's the way it is. It's by zip code. So we can't do everyone, so we had to pick the most urban areas. But you can always look at that. It's really good at telling you who's hiring right now. It has the latest job postings. So if you go to our website, it's just economic dashboard, and it will take you to another one. That was part of the grant, but this is the other part of the grant, and this just launched, and it's beemploymentready.com. And we used a committee of probably about 10 people to try to figure out how we could help learners. And our goal, we got a national grant, and our goal was to help them overcome barriers that were causing them not to be able to work and to create a one-stop shop. Well, we knew a one-stop shop today means virtual. So we created and launched this website, and we have some really key partners on here. But if you will hit resources, the arrow button, these are all the different resources. So this is kind of like 211 for employment barriers. So we went on like 211, and we met with all our partners, and we can add other resources. But let's say you go to housing. We're going to go to housing. And you scroll down. So those are actual pictures of Habitat for Humanity homes here in Box Elder County. And then it has links to everyone who helps you with a house in northern Utah, and even the state. So, if you're interested in the Utah State First Time Home Buyer Assistance Program that they released, you can click the link and it will take you there and tell you about it. So it's just putting all of those resources in one area so you can access them. So again, on the resources, there's childcare, education. We did utility assistance under this one. We have Bragg because they do rental assistance. But if you'll go back up to resources, so we have the food, we have childcare, we have the employment services. We do not have a job board at all on here, simply because we knew we probably couldn't compete with like jobs.utah.gov and Indeed and those. So we these are more like who helps you with your resume, who helps you with listings and stuff. So that's what that is. Justice Involved Individuals, it talks about some of the state programs that they have that can help those individuals. The one that we surveyed over 100 businesses, and the one thing that kept people from being hired or being promoted, a lot of them were soft skills or power skills. Just showing up to the interview, knowing how to interview, knowing how to demonstrate confidence, how to work with others. So if you hit power skills, it's right at the top. We worked with Bridgerland Technical College, and we also know that time is so precious now, and we all don't have a long attention span. So instead of saying, come to Bridgerland and take a course for 6 weeks about learning this, we created a synopsis of 10 videos that are anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes long. I think the longest is about 5 minutes and 30 seconds of talking about these attributes and what they need to do and how they can apply it to their resume and in an interview. And so it talks about professionalism's one. You can see them all there. I love dress hygiene and appearance. We actually did address it in a 2.5 minute video about how you should come prepared at an interview, or how you need to be safe at your job and wear the appropriate uniform and those types of things. Positive attitude, communication, all of those things that some people might lack and not be able to get that job, not be able to get that promotion. We hope that they will be able to utilize this resource and at least get a brief synopsis of, this is what it means, this is how you talk about it, this is how you portray, because you have those skills. It's a matter of how you portray that you have those skills, right? And so then, and like I said, and then hopefully they do sign up and get certifications from Bridgerland and Utah State and continue on their education. But for now, we need to get them in the workplace. And a lot of times your workplace will then pay for you to go to your schooling. So that's the goal of the website. Eventually, I'm going to have a worksheet sheet to go with it that they then email me, and they'll receive a digital badge of some sort that hopefully our employers will recognize as that they did some training, that they did at least think about these things and stuff before. And so we're working on that part too. But those are kind of the things that we've been up to. We did a Tremont Chamber open house in December and had a few people stop by. We are in the process of having, just so you know, my office hours here in Tremont are going to be from about 11 to 2 or 3 on Wednesdays, most likely, as much as possible. And we are going to use Tremont as a pilot program for a welcome packet to new residents, where businesses that are members of the Chamber of Commerce can put information in a folder that will then get handed out to the new residents of Tremont area, and we'll talk to Garland about doing it as well. But we feel like you're a small enough community that it won't get inundated, and it will be valuable information that we can provide. So that's kind of what we've been working on with in the Bear River Valley. Questions?
I got one. Monica, can you send us email?
Yes, I send some. Lyle gets them. I just need, if you could send me, so we do have an email newsletter every week that will keep you completely updated on what the chamber is doing. Lyle used to get it when he was at the bank. If you will send me an email with everyone's, I will get you guys all added, and then I'll add you to mine. So, yeah. We can definitely do that. Lyle does attend our Economic Development Committee meeting, which is the first Thursday normally each month. And they're the ones who plan the business summit and pick our speakers and stuff. So, yeah.
I can forward that.
Yeah.
We can send you all of the addresses and you can just,
I can just put them in our system. Yeah. Yep.
I'd rather get them from you than some of the
Yep.
emails we get from everybody else. I gotta find something.
Yeah, we do try to put all, like, every calendar item that we get that's community oriented, we try to put on our website as well as in the email newsletter. So we try to do community calendar as much as possible, so, as well as all of our events. So, yeah. Okay. Hopefully we see you all at the business summit. It's going to be really good. I heard Jeremy and Kristen speak at the One Utah Summit in Cedar City, and they were really good. And I was like, we'll see if we can get them. And they said, they graciously have agreed. So we're excited to have them up.
On a Traeger grill when you're cooking them.
I asked about that.
Well, yeah.
Such a large amount, I'd have to have 4 or 5 Traeger grills. If anybody wants to, I'd be happy.
It
to
is
do
a lot. Yeah,
They should donate one.
And last year, everyone had leftovers but Lyle. I think everyone was like waiting to take any leftovers from Lyle. It's really good.
What day?
It's a lot of fun.
That one's Friday, March 21st.
Oh, I'm off that day.
And it's just like 8:30 till about 1.
Yeah.
We usually are done and out of there by 1, and it's at USU Brigham City. So, just at the new building.
Thanks, Monica. This is fantastic.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. Okay, our next item is number 8, public comments. This is your opportunity to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas. We're asking you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Time is now yours.
Hello, my name is Chris Danvers. I live on David Drive. I've been here before. Some of you know me. I've talked to the mayor personally a few times, and I'd like to refresh your memory on a conversation that we once had where you were expressing how surprised you were the turnout of the vote this last cycle. And that last cycle got the entire town started to think about what's going on in the city. So as I begin my remarks, I'm going to express my respect for all of you and for the people in the city. I'm going to let you know how big of a lightning bolt Midland Square is. I was down in Provo doing Uber so I could pay for some of those extra bills that I have now because of the last cycle in the last council. I heard the talk because I listened to the talks on YouTube of what's going on here because I travel a lot for my second job, my main job that takes me all over the world. So I can't really be here for all the council meetings, but I thought before I leave at the end of this week, for the next 6 weeks, for my next job, I should say how upset I am about how you guys are willing to spend money because you're afraid to lose it. It reminds me frankly of the federal government and how the federal government, which I left and came here to get away from. I did live in Maryland and I did work on Capitol Hill. It is not just about a Veterans Memorial. It's about a waste of money. You guys have a quarter of the land at Midland Square than you compared to Schumann Park. You have all the same amenities that you're planning to try and squeeze into this one little plot of land that you have at Schumann Park. And at the last committee meeting, I heard questions like, why aren't we doing more like we used to at Schumann Park instead of spending all of this money? If you guys have to grab on to $400,000 or $500,000 and spend it just for the sake of spending it, then you're wasting the money and you're damaging our town. Frankly, it's a waste. And that's all I have to say, and I hope that you guys take note of it. And God bless you guys.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, I'm going to close the public comments period. New council business, discussion of RDA grant rating and ranking system for applications for affordable housing and housing projects in the city. I think this is you, Bill.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, this, as you can see in your memo, this is something that is a result of some very good things that are going on in the city and with the RDA. The RDA has the option to, it has a requirement to set aside a certain amount of money each year towards affordable housing. That has grown to a point where we have about $2.4 million in it, roughly. It's 2.2, but could grow to 2.4 by the time it's all said and done. So over the next 3 years, we're looking to distribute some of that money, and rather than just give it away to people who come in and apply for whatever, the city council asked me to put together a rating and ranking system so that applicants who come in can apply for those grant funds, and we have a rubric set up to evaluate those applications based on the criteria that you see set forth in the document that's in front of you. This item is for discussion and conversation only. I realize that it's a lot and it's new, so I mostly just wanted to introduce it to you and get it in front of you so that you had a chance to chew on it, and then we'll take action on this in a couple of weeks. So if you have any questions now, I'd be happy to entertain them, or otherwise we can just kind of let you guys take it home and have some homework over the next couple of weeks.
I got one question, Bill. Who's the city staff that, like on 13, will preliminary evaluate all applications? Who is that?
It would be me.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll probably work with Lindsay and anyone else who's super interested in this kind of thing. I'm looking at you, Chief. Not you, Chief. I'm just kidding.
That was my question too.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Bill?
I like to being able to absorb it for a little while, yeah.
Okay, we'll bring this back to you in a couple of weeks. If you have anything in the meantime, please reach out, email, we're probably his best, but just let me know if you have any thoughts or revisions or comments or anything at all. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that everything's just perfect and, oh, no, you had your chance.
No, an idea. How about when we're done with this meeting, we have these follow-up items for us? Can we somehow get a summary, or can we get them put together in, so we don't have to go through all 400 pages?
Yeah, I'll send it to you separate. That's what I'll
Yeah,
do.
that would be awesome, and then that way we know we need to review this.
You got it.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-01, appointing Karen Ellsworth, Ashley Phillips, and Jack Stickney to serve on the Tree Mountain City Planning Commission and reaffirming and appointing existing Planning Commission members. Brett, do you want to do this, or?
I turned it over to Jeff.
Okay,
let
Jeff?
Jeff do it.
Okay, very good.
Although I totally agree with them.
Okay. Why don't we, could we have him come up so we can see Jack and
Got,
Karen?
I assume you knew all of them.
We know him, but we want to make sure we embarrass him enough.
Okay, so, ta-da! Yeah,
Cartwheels or
cartwheels. Okay, everyone, in unison. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. I think it was last month, we decided to expand the planning commission to have 2 alternate members, to help us create a full quorum when we have the ebbs and flows of summer vacation and sick children and whatever else keeps people from coming regularly. And so with it, we've now come to the point we were going to nominate Karen to fill a vacancy that Caden Grover has. He's decided to take on even more things and responsibility, so he has to leave the planning commission, and then we were gonna ask Jack and Ashley to be our first alternates. The long-term vision with this structure is that as we have new vacancies, we will promote the alternates to have full-time seats, and that way there's less turnover and less kind of what Bo's going through right now of drinking out of the largest fire hydrants. And they'll be able to kind of take that transition easier. And so I've spoken with all of them. They were all very excited to take on the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the input they have.
And we just want to congratulate you. Thank you for your willingness to serve very much.
Thank you, thank you.
And then each one of them, if we have someone missing from the bench, they'll
Yeah.
pop in and cover. Good.
Thank you.
All right, council, entertain a motion if you see fit.
I'll make the motion that we adopt resolution 25-01.
Motion by Wes and seconded by Brett. Let's see, Wes?
West side.
Red eye.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Letter, yes.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Old habits are hard to break, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Discussion and possible action on adopting ordinance number 25-01, amending the Tree Mountain City Land Use Code Chapters 1.21, accessory dwelling units, and 2.02 concept plans. This is again you, Jeff.
Yeah, for 1.21 with the accessory dwelling units, we've attempted to merge the process that was first adopted. It was that internal accessory dwelling units had a different permitting and review process than detached accessory dwelling units had. And so I wanted to kind of blend those together. I talked with Paul a little bit about the impact accessory dwelling units have on our city's infrastructure. Also spoke with Bill about a couple of these items, and we kind of came to this agreement. Took a few meetings with the planning commission to vet all these changes out, but I feel it'll help take quite a few of the
procedures out of the ADUs, and maybe that'll help us get more of them as part of a moderate income housing strategy. We can break here for questions on the ADUs, or I can talk about concept plans.
So can you help me, Jeff? These are accessory dwelling units, so these are units that are inside the house, right? Versus a detached is outside
Correct.
the house. So I know that the legislature passed all kinds of new laws in trying to make affordable housing for everybody. So there's a lot of changes that are happening within our policy. Are these all due to the laws, or are we making more changes just in Tremont?
No, the states left it up to cities to kind of take this, as long as they've adopted it, kind of take it how they feel. Farmington and Salt Lake City have taken it to a very different level than we currently have with these changes. I feel this just loosens the amount of effort it takes for an applicant in order, the amount of documents they have to submit, the amount of information they have to pay to get gathered from professional engineers, architects, stuff. Kind of tried to rein that in a little bit so that it's not as expensive of a process. I didn't really want the process of getting to having an accessory dwelling unit cost more than the actual unit itself, in terms of building permits, impact fees, and so further.
So I noticed going through that we're not disclosing to the local area people, that we don't have to disclose that anymore, that there's going to be a detached or an accessory dwelling unit. We don't have to let the neighbors know that's going on.
I don't even feel in the state code it's a requirement that we have to let the neighbors go on. It's
Is
something.
that a state law again, or is that? Well,
I
I'll
mean-
get calls all the time that my neighbors got other people living with them, and it'll be an issue. So if we don't have a reason why we're doing it,
I don't know if it was a state mandate to let neighbors know.
I think
Yeah, back when we started running into this problem with, when we started running into housing market, they made it so that you can have, they took away people that are living, but anyone can live in the home.
yeah, so that's a state law.
Yeah.
We have no control over it. That's all I'm trying to decipher is which things we're changing because we have to versus which ones we don't really need to change.
some of these things where it's a conditional use permit for a accessory dwelling unit, that's both mandated by state code, but it's also good planning practice to not require a conditional use permit for something that it's a permitted use. And what you should do is create performance standards such that the impact is mitigated through the rest of the code itself, not through the requirement of a conditional use permit. So the permitting process, we've just streamlined it and made it all the same for any accessory dwelling unit. So if you come in for an ADU, this is the application, these are the standards, there you go.
So parking and all that kind of stuff is taken
Addressed.
care of through,
Otherwise, we don't
code.
give you a permit.
that's usually why people are complaining.
That's right.
And it is compatible with the chapter 1.25 conditional use permitting.
Okay.
And just to verify and clarify, ADU stands for internal
It stands for accessory, yeah.
Any accessory dwelling.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, so we're just clumping them together.
The part with this too is one of the last sections in this chapter states how the city can revoke these permits if they find any of these guidelines are outside or if there's any code violations. I think if you keep going down a little further, really is at the bottom, but not the bottom of the packet. Keep going a little further, a little more. There was a lot of duplication. Did we pass it? Oh, yeah, up there. Procedures for revoking an ADU permit. So this section here outlines if we find that the permit's not staying within the regulations of the code, we can revoke their ADU permit. And so if there are complaints, if there is stuff that we hear about that are not staying right to regulation, it's within the city's power to revoke those. We have 11 so far that I know of, and I haven't heard many issues, but a lot of people don't know my number.
Thank you.
Definition of what? You to revoke it. In other words.
Yeah, non-compliance with any of the provisions of this ordinance or any other ordinance of the city. So if they weren't following the parking, if they weren't following any of the metering standards, that's the catch-all sentence there. So that if there's any of the city, both the city zoning ordinances or the city's other ordinances that they're not in compliance with, we can use that to revoke their ADU. But we did go through here, and parking actually was one of the topics that kept this at the planning commission a little bit longer.
That was gonna be my question, is do we need to be thinking about any additional resources for parking?
We outlined how they have to meet parking guidelines and how they have to show in part of the permit process of where their extra parking stalls are going to be located, and it can't be on the street. On to concept plans. For the concept plan changes, we wanted to let these just kind of be an application process where they can meet with me or Bill and just kind of go over the very 35,000 foot ideas behind their development, where utilities might be, what their zoning regulations are. It's very much just supposed to be a very casual application and process, because this is the one stage of the development process that doesn't trigger the state's timeline for review processes and getting information back. And so we tried to make the changes in here to allow for it to be flexible and allow for it to not be as formal, to get just some very 35,000 foot feedback from the city staff.
State code has changed recently in the last 2 or 3 years to eliminate the requirement for a concept plan. Cities may not require concept plans anymore. A developer could jump straight into a preliminary plat. We don't recommend that. It helps everyone to go through the concept plan process, because then everyone has an opportunity to look at it before it gets expensive. And so a concept plan is very much a discretionary thing on the part of the developer, but we definitely encourage them to follow this process.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? Bill? All right, thanks, Jeff.
Make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 25-01.
I second the motion.
A second by, motion by Lyle and seconded by.
Number?
What's that?
One's at
One's
ordinance.
one's in a resolution.
Resolution and
Sorry.
ordinance.
You're okay. Good question.
Okay, let's see, is there any other, do we,
No,
Oh, okay.
one's a
25-11 again.
okay, we're still, yeah, one's a resolution, one's an ordinance. Okay, let's see, any other,
gotta
motion,
vote
any
on it.
comments? Okay, Brett?
Brett, yes.
Lyle Vance, yes.
Larry, yes.
Oh, yes.
Wes, yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
Started, I can remember it.
Discussion and possible action on awarding a bid for the pump line replacement project. This is going to be Paul. And just so you, for the public, the funding for this was through grant funding, so.
As you see in the description, we received $1 million grant for a project, and this was the project we chose. We put it out to bid. Bids we opened on, I think it was December 18th. It's been so long ago. I have to wait to get a council meeting to award it. And we had quite a few bidders, 11 in total, and the low bid, you see in my description, actually, we threw it out because it was an incomplete bid. And went with the second bid, qualified bidder. Forefront General Contracting bid the project for $774,161.30. Our estimate was a $1.25 million. So we came out really, really good. There was, seeing that many bidders mean people are starting to get a little hungry again. Plus, it's a winter project, and with this winter, as soon as I can get them out there, there's no snow they even have to push out of the way. The ground's not frozen. They can really go to work on that quite rapidly. Our goal is to have it wrapped up by June 30th. Most of it has to be in before the canal system comes in and before our water usage goes up, because it will be impacted by our pumps down in the
Give a
river
little
bottoms.
background on that line.
Yeah, this one new 14-inch line will replace two lines. One's a 6-inch cast iron line that was installed in the 50s, and the other is a 8-inch PVC line that was installed in the mid to late 70s. And we will take those two out of use, replace it with this one. The 8-inch line, we had a failure on it at fair time 2 years ago, but it's right where the canal was. So we had to reroute water around. You might remember a lot of stuff going on until the canal system went out, because the canal company's not shutting down the Hammond Canal during farming season. So this will put a brand-new line up through there, take those worries out, and we actually will, because it will up the capacity, we can actually get more water through it. So there's less resistance through that bigger line than there is in those two smaller lines. So this will benefit us way into the 50, 60 years down the road. So my recommendation is to award it to Forefront General Contractor. We've never worked with them before, but we've done some research. They're out of North Logan. We've had good feedback. They've done work for Logan City and other cities, and so we feel comfortable with them.
Okay, a basic question. So this line is going from our well
Our pumps down in the river bottoms where our springs are,
over in Deweyville and comes across.
and it'll go down, it'll come up that little road there when you go down to there, and then it'll head south down the Canal Bank Road over towards the railroad tracks, and then we'll interconnect our main lines that are coming out of the reservoirs over there by the highway and the railroad tracks,
So this is between the railroad track point and,
and the canal, yeah.
About 6,000.
6,000 feet of pipe, yeah, 14-inch.
Are we going to be able to use the other pipe?
Huh?
Will we be able to use the other lines at all?
No, they'll just
Totally
be,
abandon them.
they'll be abandoned. And a new alignment. Right now, those two lines come through fields. This will come directly up the road. So it takes it out of people's fields and betters that situation too. So you're not ever having to get in the farmer's field to make a repair or anything. So. Questions?
Any other questions for Paul? I guess we just need to kind of give an up or down. We're good with going with, what is the name of that company?
Forefront.
Forefront.
I make a motion, we go with Forefront as your contractor.
I'll second it.
Motion by Brett and seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Yes.
I mean, we had really good bids. You see some that are outliers. You're always going to have an outlier. And we don't know, a lot of those are from out of the area, and it's like, are they just saying, hey, if you'll pay me this much money, I'll come to town and work for you? It'd have been nice to get one of our locals, but they were a little higher, and this makes their money go a little further.
That
Okay.
the money over and above that amount could be used for.
It depends, yeah, because that's a state grant. It's like our last state grant. They're real flexible, and so there's possibility to use some of that extra money on something else. But we won't know until we get close to that project, because you can come across unknowns going across some of that property.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everybody. Item number E, Discussion and possible action on awarding a bid for a new 10-wheel dump truck. Paul?
And this was another one that was in our budget. I had budgeted $200,000. I sent out to 4 different truck providers. Mack Truck and Kenworth Sales opted not to bid on it. So I did receive 2 bids from Rush Truck, who sells the International, and then 1 from Premier Truck that sells the Freightliner. And you can see the prices of the bids, $252, $217, and $226. My recommendation is to go with the higher bid, and the reasoning why is that truck's available. It's a larger truck, so it's actually more truck than what our existing is, but they have it in stock right there. And if you remember from our last truck ordering process with our sweeper, I'm afraid you end up with some of those. I mean, they tell us the next one will be available in September. The Freightliner will be available in November. But I do know that the one is there in stock right now. They just have to send it down to have a bed put on it and the plow put on it, and it's ready to go. So it'd be ready by February. And that would be my recommendation, go with that larger International truck from Rush Truck Centers. And we'll just modify our budget to take in that amount. It comes out of the composting operation.
If anybody wants to go for a ride in the old truck, I'll be more than happy to drive you around. No air conditioning, no heater, and
Don't need air conditioning this time of year.
you need a heater.
And
It don't have either.
So we have one 10-wheeler right now then in fleet?
yeah. We only run one 10-wheeler generally at a time because that's what we haul the solids with, the biosolids. Most of our dump trucks are bobtails because we're hauling a little dirt here and there, from road project or, a water leak. And so we don't need the big 10-wheeler except for on that. And so it would have a plow on it, but no sander. Because its main job is to go from the treatment plant to the compost facility and back and just haul solids all day long.
That's what I was gonna say, we're up to 4 loads a day now, or?
Yeah. And that's hauling out and then hauling the compost back that we sell and give away. So, yeah. But we would keep the other one in our fleet because it still runs and we can still push snow with it. So,
Better get the heater fixed.
it works unless you're plowing snow, they said. But, what did you say, Brad?
We were able to get all 3 of those trucks on the same date. Which one would you take?
We've had decent luck with all the Internationals. The only plus of the Premier truck, the Freightliners, now we have a Freightliner repair shop right outside of town. The other one, the Rush, we have to take it down to West Haven.
Roy.
Yeah, just right there by where Cow Ranch is if you're headed to Ogden. That's the closest Rush. But that would be the only reason. I mean, even our Freightliners that we do have, we've had to put them in the shop. Yeah. So none of them's foolproof. The one, like I said, the one is available now. I know we're not gonna have any hiccups on supply chain delivery. It's down there. How they ended up with the extra one is a city had ordered 4 trucks, and when it came down to it, their budget could only afford 3 trucks. And so this other one was just setting the chuck and chassis there, ready to be outfitted. So that's why it was available.
More bed on it too.
And it has, it's, because it is a bigger truck, it will have a little bit larger bed.
I make a motion, we approve to buy that truck, the 252. I mean, you could wait, and they could up at 5% or 10% on
Well, my problem is we could wait and it'd be like our sweeper, we waited and waited and waited, trying to get it here.
fire trucks for 4 years.
I'll second Blair's if.
A motion by
Motion.
Blair, seconded by Wes. Second just a possible action, so all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Paul.
I won't even drive it, won't be here for them.
Okay, last item on the new council business, discussion and possible action on approving an on-premise beer license for Western Billiards. Now, as you read through the dialogue on that, they're new owners for Western Billiards, and so per state law, we have to reissue the beer license. Let's see, Bill, do you want to add anything to that, or
This is a Lindsay item, but
Lindsay item?
It's changing, it's just ownership.
Just ownership.
Ownership is changing.
Do we need to make a motion on this?
Just a, is it far enough away from the church that they can get the license?
So he'll have to go through that process with the state. I think where we're transferring it, technically, you guys have the ability to transfer it where nothing's changing, then it would be fine. But he has to get it approved through the state too, so.
Should we get that approval before we move forward with that? Because if we approve a license that it's a new owner and it's within that boundary, then all of a sudden we're gonna have other people coming to us saying, well, I want a license, you gave it to them. I'm just a
I
little
think it's
concerned
just
about that,
the-
that's all.
Haven't had
If
one
it's a
for-
transfer, though, is that
Transfer.
where it's a transfer? I don't know that it's the same location and
I say
everything.
we don't do it and see what next meeting looks like.
we'll fill this place right up.
Come on, man.
Ugh,
You need a noogie
yeah.
with this guy.
Oh, I'm all for it. I just wanna make sure that we're following legal due process, that's all.
I think we would be. If we give one to that restaurant, that church is no closer.
Which restaurant? Oh,
The-
This is
Mexican
farther west
restaurant.
than
I
that,
think it's
so,
It's about the same, huh?
no,
Or further?
it's further. If that one passed, this one's gonna.
So the church is further away than,
Where that restaurant
What,
is now,
the
that we
West-
just give one
Same one
to.
that's been there forever.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. and
So,
I don't think any of us have a problem with
no,
it.
I make a motion that we transfer it to Mr. Buck, Josh Buck.
Motion by Blair and seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, everybody. Okay, the consent agenda. Moving on, advice and consent. City's manager's appointment of Carl Mackley, Carl back there, to the position of Assistant Public Works Director. Adoption of November warrant register and the adoption of the November financial statements. We can do all of that in the consent agenda, but with
I'd like to
that, let's introduce
so you
him.
know who
Yeah.
you're consenting
Are
to.
you gonna say all the things that happened in 2025? Like Bill.
This year,
Not even.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, this is Carl Mackley. He interviewed by far, I mean, he was came in a little bit later after we didn't have success on getting assistant. But by far, he has the best qualifications of any of our candidates. He is a licensed engineer. I don't know if any of you know him. He's from Brigham, lives in Collingston now. So proximity is great for what he would be doing. He was the manager of the Bear River Water Conservancy District for 5 years, a little over 5. And before that, he worked in the state engineer's office for water rights, which will be a benefit to the city in the future because he knows the water laws. And that's going to be really important. And I think he'll be a great fit to take over. He's probably easier to deal with than Paul Fulgham is, but I just, I think everything will work out great for us as we make a transition. And like I did tell him, I said, this doesn't mean he'll get a public works director job, but he would be the assistant that will help fill in during the interim of things. So that'll all be up to you guys in the future. So,
And David Forsgren highly recommends you.
It's kind of him.
I had a
So-
chance to work with Carl for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and I second that. He's a great person and very capable, and, you know, and I think one thing we kind of wondered, I know you've got your culinary or your water certificates and everything, but, you know, it'd be nice if we can get the wastewater part of it as well, and
I'm working on it already.
He's already working on it.
very good.
Drinking out of a dirty fire hose.
So what has to happen to become able to do the waste management?
The wastewater,
No, the treatment plan, what do you have to do?
well, you gotta, we need a certified, level 3 certified operator. So he's taking the test to do it. The treatment plant still runs. The operators run it. It's just to be legal on paper, you need that level 3 position.
And how hard is it to get level 3?
Uh,
How long does it take?
Yeah, Paul, how hard?
We got one guy that,
If you can pass the test, you're automatically there. They'll put a restriction, like I was telling Carl. He'd be restricted, which doesn't mean anything. It just means that if he went to work for someone else that needed a level 3 operator, they know that he'd had a restriction, because what they do is they add in all your schooling, so being an engineer bumps him up a year on there. He only needs, I think, 2 years
2 for the level 3, 1.
for managing it to be an unrestricted operator. He'll still be what we call a DRC, direct responsible charge. And then, you know, we have other employees that are taking the test and stuff too, but you know, it is, of any of the fields, it is the hardest one, because a wastewater treatment plant is a living, breathing microorganism that you have to know a lot. But like I said, he's studying. The math portion should be easy for any engineer. That's usually the hardest part on some of my operators, is that algebra and the math portion of taking those tests. So he'll be able to meet that. You know, that's the only certificate we're lacking, but he will also get his collection and his level 3 water distribution in, because the district was only required to have a 2, so he had a 2, and that's probably an easier test. Well, I know it's a lot easier than the wastewater treatment, but, so I have full confidence in him.
Studying, to
So-
answer your question, Lon.
But he's willing to put the study, and that's what it's about. So if you're willing to put the study time in, you can pass those tests. I passed them, so it tells you not that hard. So
Excited to have Carl here, but I'm more excited to see Paul excited about it.
I really feel good, because it's been a big worry on me trying to find. Now it's just getting him trained with the guys and understand what we do, and it's nice that he's dealt with agencies that we have to deal with, the Canal Company, the Bear River Water Conservancy District, not to mention Division of Utah, Water Rights. He'll learn about water quality and solids and hazardous waste that we have to deal with. But I think he has that background of having work for the state of Utah, so he can understand some of their lingo or lack of lingo or whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to have Carl come in and learn. We're just in the process. We need to have an office for him, so I'm trying to get an office set up. And, you know, we're like everybody else in Public Works. You're bursting at the seams, even with the equipment. As we get new equipment, you only build a shop so big to handle, so we shovel stuff in and pack it in a little bit tighter. It's kind of like my gun cupboard. It's just push more guns and more guns.
except your new truck drives really well, in case you wanted to know.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
Office in the passenger seat if you want.
All right.
so we appreciate you guys, so.
I want to say also for my part, I had a very frank conversation with Carl and tried to scare him off. He doesn't scare easily, which is a good thing. If he's going to be working with Paul for the last few months of Paul's career as a longtime employee, and not be scared off by that. But also, you know, Paul has just made an enormous contribution to our city over the last 3 decades.
Well,
And it's going to be something that is a difficult thing to.
we're going to try to get him trained on city council breakfast and
Well,
everything.
not just that, but you know, it's it's all part of it, and Paul's done a fantastic
So,
job. So
thanks.
anyone that we're looking at to help out in that kind of a role is that's big shoes to fill. So Carl was he's still here. So you know,
here.
you didn't scare him off, right? Or
He's stubborn. so
he's stubborn. So
Scared too easy.
we're excited to have him on
We're
board.
thrilled, yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Okay, we still have a consent agenda, council.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Brett. I have a second by Blair. Let's see, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Calendar items and previous assignments. Review of calendar. We've got our meeting on the 21st, is it? And then we're going to try to, let's see, make sure we get these visioning workshops. We're going to start at 4 o'clock. Is it 4 o'clock on the 21st?
Yeah.
And then possibly we will meet again following on the 27th. Am I understanding that correctly? If needed.
28.
5 o'clock on the 20th.
Wouldn't it?
5 o'clock on the 28th, not the 27th. Okay. Is that okay with everybody?
5 o'clock on the 21st.
Blair can't be here by 4.
I won't.
Oh, that's right. You can't
We
be
got a
here.
town
anyway,
meeting.
so-
Phone that day, so.
So do we need an hour for this planning?
I want to say if we can front load the thing, that's better. The hour between 4 and 5 is a lot better for me than 9 and 10 if we're going late. So
Okay, you can attend at 4, can't you, with?
I
your-
can probably, if I'm still driving, I can still call.
Yeah.
Just call in.
Okay.
Probably get a reception between here and St. George.
So what time we starting?
4 o'clock.
Sounds like 4 now.
Okay.
I gotta put that in on the, yeah,
If I don't.
on the 21st. I wonder how you edit that.
Okay. All right. Any other calendar items? Okay, any unfinished business, council? All right, let's move on to reports and comments. City administration reports. Bill, do you have any additional information?
I don't have much. I just wanted to say, we had a staff meeting last week, and I'm consistently impressed with the quality of the people that I get to work with. These people are, and I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, because these people are just absolutely amazing. Their dedication, their professionalism, their service, it just is second to none. And I would match the people that we have working with us against any in the state. We really have the best quality employees, and their dedication and their devotion to our city and to public service is just inspiring to me. And I'm grateful and humbled at the chance to work with such amazing people.
Already we don't have.
It's even Jeff, even Jeff
Jeff.
is good to work with.
Jeffrey Scott.
So I just, it gets me out of bed in the morning, and it keeps me coming back, and I'm more proud of them.
All right, good. I agree totally. We've got a great bunch of people here. I'm very proud of them. DRC reports, anything additional there, Jeff, that we need to talk about?
It's somewhat DRC related. I'm gonna come to the mic so it's a little closer, less fuzzy for Jessica. We've been working with Brody Calder on annexing about 200 acres along Iowa String. Bill and I have met with the residents out there. We've tried to have about a handful of meetings. And at this last one, they brought up a concern which I felt was quite justifiable. So it'll be something if I'll prepare for the RDA group. But a lot of the residents out there were asking that we talk to you guys about waiving their impact fees. Because of the amount of money that they've spent on septic tanks and on the West Corinne water connections,
they feel like it's quite a bit to swallow to ask to pay another 16,000 when they built out in the county in the first place. And so just something to consider. We would like to be able to go back to them with an answer. And I'm happy to answer questions about what we have talked about at this meeting. But we have been trying to work and help them understand what this process is and kind of what the development that Brody's hoping to bring out into the acreage he owns.
Just
Got a good idea.
No.
We'll trade them the impact fee for their water hookup fee.
And Brody has already set up somebody who is willing to buy all of their connections.
That to us for their hookup fees.
Because that's a $30,000
I know.
instead of $1,500.
But we can't make them hook up to us, correct?
No.
So if they want to hook up, I believe we have to charge them, and if they don't, if they want to stay on septic in West
I
Korean.
mean, I thought they were 38,000 or something.
Right now, we've heard a price range in the mid 30s. Some have said low 40s even. I think it just depends. There's such a demand for them. It just depends on how much people are willing to ask.
Jeff, I really, and I shared this with you, I don't think that's fair. You know, they're getting $30,000 that they're getting for their hookup fee, and we're asking for 16 to get them whole again.
But they already spent 30,000. They've only had these water connections for 2 or 3 years. They haven't appreciated that much.
Oh, yeah, they have.
Not that. I
West
mean, not
Korean,
16,000.
I'll bet you they didn't pay 15 or 20,000 and they're worth 10,000 more now. They're going up $5,000 or $10,000
Are
a
they
year.
going to hook up to sewer?
Yes,
They
they're
will.
gonna do all the connections, and here's the thing, that the 16,000, almost 17,000 is the worst case scenario for these people, and that's the way we presented it to them. We also presented to the fact that Jeff and I don't speak for you guys. We don't set the policy and we don't set the fee schedule. It is what it is. This is what you should think in your brains that you will have to pay. Now, there is the opportunity, and it has been done in other places. I think one of the guys
Brigham
said
City.
Brigham does it. They waive impact fees for buildings that are already constructed. Because what happens is these impact fees get wrapped into someone's mortgage, right? So they're getting the money back that they would have paid for the connection, but it's not really a one-to-one kind of a situation. It's not like they're having to pay it out of their own pocket instead of it being wrapped up in a building permit, which is paid by the developer when they built. So it's not like they plunked down $34,000 for a connection 2 or 3 years ago. It's all just been wrapped up into their mortgage. So they're not.
But they're still going to get $34,000.
Potentially.
And Brody's going to work on taking that price, but he's also willing to help, if they agree to it, to help take some of the construction costs to get all of their connection and hookups done on their lots. And so he's going to net some of that out of that
They
connection
should probably
fee.
have to pay, but they shouldn't probably make 30 grand either. You know what I mean?
How many are we looking to?
25. But so comparatively, right now it's 200 acres of annexation and 147 of it would be ready for development. And so to me, it's like if all of that was ready to go tomorrow, this is 3% of the amount of impact fees we would get off the acreage, if that makes sense. Because with that 147 acres, we were looking at almost almost $11.9 million worth of impact fees, where this would cost the city almost $400,000. And so to me, and like these people are going to go through, they're going to have construction out their front door for the next 10 years. They're going to have to go through all of this that they never really asked to. And it seems like a small ask when there's so much else for the city to earn because of this. And really, the other part of it is if it would cost a lot more than $400,000 if the city had to go put that sewer in by ourselves. Like
So which,
a lot
can we
more.
say which one it is?
Yeah, it's Freeman Acres.
It's Freeman Farms.
The one where the
The
Brigham
cul-de-sac.
police chief lives?
Yeah. And so if we were gonna go in and put the sewer system and the secondary system and get that development up to city standards, it would cost us a lot more than $400,000.
Subdivision.
But Paul, how do you feel about it?
Well, I feel we wouldn't be, if it was left up to the city and not being annexed in, we wouldn't be doing the infrastructure project. Well, that $400,000 has gotta be supplemented by our existing citizens. You know how I feel about development paying for their growth. So whether, if we can't make a deal, they get their money back, make a deal with the developer, that he pays the difference. That's my opinion.
That's something we can work on as
Because if
well.
not, it goes on the burden in the backs of our existing citizens and
Right.
ratepayers.
That is exactly what I told them as well. I said, it's not fair to the existing residents to have them subsidize your homes coming in. You are having an impact on the existing system. There's no other way around it. You are putting into our system, and that's what the impact fees are designed to offset, is that impact. Some people said, well, can't it be more or less than this? And I said, no, these fees are studied to death. There is no fee on our fee schedule that is more looked at, studied, hemmed over, hawed over, whatever, than these fees. I wasn't pulling any punches with them. I told them exactly what to expect, and I said, we would bring it up with you, but it's ultimately the council's decision.
My tiny little brain still says we're gonna sell them water connections. So it really shouldn't cost them any money.
But it cost them money to get those connections. So unless, to me, it's appreciated enough to cover, so like, unless they bought that for,
It doesn't matter.
If you get
They
30,
write you a check for $34,000, you got a check for $34,000.
you gotta pay it to hook up the new one, you're not out anything, in my mind. Not-
If we hook them up for whatever, that's just me. Am I
That's
thinking
secondary
wrong?
too. We would run to them.
I know it's over 30 because Mark Allred bought them and Blaine Rupp's on the
I know
board.
somebody that'll buy them for 30,000 tomorrow.
That's what they're selling for, is 30 right now, plus maybe up from there.
Right.
Because it was 30 2 months ago.
yeah.
Well, and we'll be
I mean-
setting a precedent for all other subdivisions that come in after they've been built.
I told them that would be a concern as well.
And so
But, I mean, a regular subdivision that is not hooked to that water, maybe they're on a well or something, they'd have to pay more, but these guys already have that. There's a revenue they'll get back if they trade it to whoever buys them all and he pays the bill, and it shouldn't cost them anything. I don't know, is that,
But we can't make them do it either. We cannot make them, if they want to stay on septic tank and
That's
Keep
the,
on what?
that's the
They're not,
existing
'cause they
ones that
have
are out there
problems.
that we're talking
You
about
can
versus
make 'em.
the new ones coming in.
Can make 'em.
Federal law says, and state law, that if they're within 300 feet, we can make them. We've never done that.
never done that.
Because usually they come to us because they start having failures.
and I think they've already had a few things they want to admit
Oh.
to.
They want to.
Half the cul-de-sac there has admitted that they are tired of their septic tanks. And so those have been the ones that have been willing to, sign and work with the city. And then there's some that are a little more hesitant.
We tried to get them to tie in, didn't we?
well, we could, what about if they decide, if we annex and they decide that they don't want to hook up or anything right now, then there wouldn't be any.
What I'd rather do though is get all the financial stuff up front so that we don't lose track of that down the road. If they don't, to me, if they don't pay if those fees aren't covered now with the annexation, and we try to nitpick out of the 25 who has and who hasn't paid, whoever hasn't paid now won't ever pay.
They won't be hooked up until
Be
they
hooked up,
pay.
they won't be receiving a utility bill.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we track it now, whether
Right.
you are charged sewer or not, because we still have them up on Radio Station Hill that still have septic systems. They just don't pay a utility bill they pay water but not sewer.
Sewer.
Storm drain, they pay.
I think they're in a win-win anyway. I mean, if they get, one, they don't have to worry about a septic tank, and then get our water and sell their thing. If they come out awash, they ought to be happy.
Septic tank, getting rid of that makes your house more sellable if you're hooked to a city sewer.
How much would it cost average person to hook their home up to the sewer?
Well, the problem is, a lot of those, they put the septic tanks out the back. The sewer goes out the front, so they're gonna have to run around that house, probably in the range of $4,000, depending on what else they have to do. If they have a deep basement, they already have to have a pump with the septic tank. Cause, health department don't let them put deep septic systems in anymore.
So they're out 20,000 and they make 10.
See, that's what the health department, when they came to our thing, told them guys, if they were smart, they would run their.
Out the front.
Out the front, at least a line. And that's what they're trying to tell them to do, because.
Elwood went through this too years ago.
Yeah.
Them last houses, the smart ones put that pipe out, so when sewer come, they hooked on.
How far south are we going here?
9600 north.
That's the cement plant, isn't
Right
it?
to the cement plant, or is
No,
that, that's the church house?
Or the church.
Where are you putting the lift station?
Almost to the church.
As far south as we can get it.
And it's just on the, or the east side of the road. And how far east?
To the railroad tracks.
The rest is Elwood.
That's where I grew up, stomping grounds, and I've had several of the guys down there hit me up about the drainage lines and that type of stuff. Are you communicating to them? Because they're in an uproar about it right now.
That's all part of the development process. When they come to plans, we make them verify what ditches are there. And then if they have to relocate a ditch, they have to get a signed document from the ditch owners.
There should be field drain study that,
We got those
USD,
maps.
yeah, you got those
We
maps.
got all those
Okay.
maps.
'Cause I know of 3 that go through that area.
But any existing irrigation ditches, they have to keep viable and pipe if they're gonna be in the back of homes or whatever, is usually what we make them do. And then keep all those field drains intact.
And who owns them drains now? Garland? Who's,
Nobody owns
they're-
them.
yeah, nobody owns them now.
Well, they're owned by the companies that put them in,
Yeah.
which are the local farmers around there.
So
But have they
some
been
of them are-
cleaned and,
Well, they got
Maintain 'em?
bylaws that they have
Some of them
to,
are maintained, depends on where they're at, what,
so, they're a little bit in uproar, that their drainage line systems are gonna be messed with. Makes a big difference on your production,
oh yeah.
your,
that off.
what you get that water off that ground.
That's part of the development review is those field drains and then the integrity of them. And usually what we do is if they put roads on top of them, we usually make them box them so then they can be maintained.
Both ways.
Which is the developer's expense.
Developers.
Okay.
So couldn't the developer go and buy all of the water back from the people and turn around and pay the fees and plumb everything and do everything and make money? I would think so.
Well, the field drains are a
Probably.
little different. The field drains are a little
Not
different.
even
Talk
filled
about the
drain.
homes.
Just,
homes.
Yeah.
just water and sewer.
Yeah.
The culinary.
Them ones
hookup.
that are there, them 25 people,
Yeah.
shouldn't have to pay any money out of their pocket and get a whole better.
That's another $7.5 million he's gotta come up with,
But he's
just to
gonna
put
get
them
that-
houses. I know.
Yeah.
He'll get it back on the water, but
No. 30 times. How many homes did you say?
25. 7.5 million.
7.5 million, yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Any other DRC? Anything else? Okay, let's move on.
Shares like that.
Department head reports, let's see, Paul, Dustin, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Just a quick update. I just want to give you guys some stats. This year, we broke 11,086 cases over the last year, and that's up from 8,032. I know it may sound like a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. It just means there's that many more cases we're catching and we're seeing through. So it's been really positive. As far as our Know Your Force, that's where people can give us surveys. We're 96% positive, a 4.8 out of 5-star rating. We were awarded, thanks to Lieutenant Gailey, $25,000 for our body cams, so we're going to use that to offset some of that cost. I was recently awarded federal training. We're going to send one of our investigators through. It's valued anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000, fully paid by the Department of Justice. Last thing is we're just interviewing for new records and evidence positions, and I think we had 20 candidates over 2 days, so really good stuff. But yeah, really nothing negative to report, and yeah, things are going well.
Are you gonna have to close up shop before you get?
Yeah, we're gonna at least have to vary our hours for a week or two. We'll post that on our website with Zach, and we'll also put it on the building. So if you hear about it, that's why. We're hoping to get someone in quick, and I'm hopeful with the candidates and their qualifications, we could do that pretty fast. Any questions for me or the police department? Cool. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Chief. Let's see, Paul, do you have anything else for us? Chief, ready?
Look at the smile on his face. He's been waiting for this day.
Oh, man, I've been waiting for this day. Happy, delighted to report that our new fire engine is in. Hopefully you've had a chance to see that. It's not in service yet. We've got to get brackets and stuff to mount the tools and things inside and move that equipment over from the other engine. But it's here. We're super excited about that and really appreciative to the council for prioritizing that as a need for the fire department. It was on order for just over 2 years to take delivery. So speaking to what it means to have a truck that you can actually touch and it's actually there is wonderful. On order for almost 2.5 years, and so it's finally arrived. Couple of just, by the way, in case you hear things that were on our plate, we had Toys for Tots. We host Toys for Tots every December, and they use the fire station as a hub to deliver all of the toys to people in this community, and we're super happy about that. Related to vehicles, I was able to speak to the vendor. We have had an ambulance on order for just over 2 years, and it's still probably, he told me maybe 6 months out still. So, it's ridiculous is the word that comes to mind. But just not asking for money, just going to let you know what the conversation was. When we ordered that ambulance, the bid that we ordered that ambulance was based on a 2022 chassis. That truck will be built on a 2025 chassis. The chassis price is not locked in on the bid. So I'm anticipating a $15,000 or $16,000 overrun on the price because of the chassis price. So the price of the box was locked in, but the price of the chassis is separate. And so I'm expecting that to be high. And I don't know yet if it will arrive in June, and I have to come up with that in this budget year, or if it will arrive in July-ish, and I come up with that in a future budget year. So just so you know, that's kind of on my plate, and I haven't been able to assess yet how much of that I can absorb or not. So it's winter time, so all of our shifts are covered. We tend to run a little tougher to cover all of our shifts in the summer, a little easier to cover all of those shifts in the winter time because people aren't on vacation as much. So staffing is going well for us, even to the point that some of the part-time staff would like more shifts, but they're all full. So that's a good problem to have. And then finally, as you're well aware, Nate Christensen is up and running as the city emergency manager. I'm just delighted with the things he's working on and some areas he's reaching out to help me. We are dismantling our storage room and converting it into a conference room where he can have some space, moving storage up into what we call the mezzanine storage above the trucks. And Nate Christensen found a government surplus conference table, which we bought for $12, and moving into that space. So we're setting him up with a couple of phone lines and a little conference table over there to have at least emergency management meetings and things of that nature. So otherwise, doing well, unless you have any questions.
The ambulance billing, you forgot.
Ambulance billing, oh, that's fantastic. So Shari, before her plan was to have, she and I have met, going through all the ambulance billing details. I've been on the phone with the ambulance billing contractor today, answering a couple final questions he has, and they should let us know. We'd hoped, our plan was for them to start billing as of January 1st. We're still working on a couple of small details, but they'll be starting at this point any day, covering that ambulance billing, which I think every indication is that because of their ability to really specialize and have a team of, I think their staff is 20-something people, focused on ambulance billing, that they'll be able to take where we're at in ambulance billing now and even improve on it. And their cost to us is 6% of total revenue, but we expect the collections to go up by well over 6%. So essentially, it'll pay for itself. So, okay, yeah, and that's a big step for us.
Did sign some papers off on that today, so.
Okay, good, yeah.
Apparently it's on its way.
Yeah, they asked me to sign, and I said, I think it's contractual, so I think it needed to be signed by you. So I think Shari was working on those things.
Yeah, we got that taken care of.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Paul, anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Carl, do you have anything to say?
Happy to be here.
We're glad you're here. Thank you. Let's see, council reports. Let's see, we start over here with you, Bo, this time.
Yeah.
You kind of aren't drugged up this time, were you?
Yeah, no, it feels a lot better.
Cogent today.
No, I don't have anything specific to comment on.
Thank you.
It's been a good
Clark?
meeting.
I'm good.
For the sake of time, too.
I've been so worried about getting Paul's replacement for the last year, and so happy and relieved, Carl, that you're here with us and are as qualified as you are, and we're happy you're here. And the police department, you guys, I mean, it just feels so good in Tremont. The fire department, Bill's here with all those who work with Bill and that type of stuff. We appreciate all of you, how things are running smoothly. Good to have Carl here, and thanks for all you guys do for us.
I would like to move forward with our sign out there on Main Street.
Okay.
For a 4x8, it's gonna cost an additional $15,000 over the budget. Are you guys okay with that?
Do we have the money?
We can probably find money.
Well, our sales tax revenues have been up at least 4% this year, and that's significantly more.
Chief's already eyeing that, so I'm just gonna put a warning pin in there.
Both of chiefs are eyeing it. Paul, he don't care no more.
So, I mean, 15 grand is not a huge amount in the grand scheme of things, pun intended. Lindsay, do you have any objection to that?
Sign where?
Over where the Marble Motel sign is over here.
I mean, again, funding reflects priorities. So,
Yeah, we had 45,000 in budget, and it came out at 60 for the larger sign. I just think it'd be a little bit it'd be easier to communicate with the public if we have a little bit bigger sign there. But if you think I ought to go with a smaller sign, that's fine.
How big's a small sign?
Yeah.
What if we had the sign here?
Hmm?
What if we had the sign here? Instead of on Main Street right there where people are hopefully watching the road, not the sign.
Here, they can just run over the ladies taking the mail across the street
that's right.
That happens all the
and getting drinks. Main Street, I mean, that's good thought, I hate to say.
time. But it would be, and then we could advertise, I don't know, we could advertise anything over there too, but I wondered if it would be better seen there,
Well,
here.
I think it by far would be better seen out there. 'Cause that's
Well, more people pass it maybe, but are they looking?
They're going faster.
We didn't seem to get a whole lot of traction on the DL Evans sign or the fairgrounds sign, so. Just a thought.
Also, out here, you can put it at ground level where they're gonna see it and not up
Yeah, up high.
at 30 feet above where everyone isn't looking.
we've got issues with shop owners not being able to say that people read their signs that are at eye level.
What's the different sign sizes?
6
6
and
foot
4 by 8.
Also, if we did it down here, you could do a ground level where people could read it.
Wait, didn't you just say that?
I know, I just don't know. We're worried about not communicating enough.
Inception, I'm back in Inception again.
How about if we think about that for a week, Brett?
I think it ought to be the bigger one.
I think the
I
bigger
do
one.
like a bigger one.
I do too.
And we can find money to make it work if that's what everybody wants to do.
I'm good because it's a one-time deal.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is I just want the public to be able to see, and they're gonna have to make a special effort to turn here to see when our events are, and out there, they would have to make no effort. And we have a lot of, and so that's my only.
But it's,
Is it a digital signage
but it's up.
that
where
we
the
can
marble
change?
sign is now.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have
Message
it
board.
centralized here too. If you wanna know what's going on with the city, you go to the.
There's a convention that says how big of font and how much text you can put at a certain speed.
Correct.
And I can't remember what it is.
And how often you can change it.
Yeah, and it's better at a 25 mile an hour and obviously lower down because it's right at eye level.
We'd get more crashes in the ambulance and all that stuff. When you're reading,
Little A-frame sign you can put up for recreation here, just put it on the big sign.
But location TBD, but I think we do go with the bigger sign. I think that's what we.
I'm all about the bigger sign, but I would like to think about, I gotta see if I even look at the Marble Motel sign. Been there since I was a kid, but I don't know the last time I looked up at
I
it.
looked up there today to see if it was still there.
I don't look at the DL11 sign and I don't look at the
Fairgrounds?
fairground
Fairgrounds
sign.
I do.
Maybe if I'm at the stoplight, but
You know, the other option is you put it on top of our Tremont sign out there on that pole. And I don't think many people know that sign even exists.
Yeah.
Where's that one?
The Parks one that we have up over
Point.
by the old hotel, or the old hospital,
Oh,
by Taco Time.
I thought that was Micah's. That's the city's?
The older one is the cities.
yeah.
Well, and I don't honestly know how to figure out
What
where
about
it's
the
gonna give us
square?
the best drive.
That's what I said.
We're just gonna have to make a decision on it, but I think it's a good thought to
Get the sign
put up
coming.
front here, and so people say, "Oh, I'm driving by the city. What should I look out for? And is soccer season starting? And where do I pay my taxes and all that?"
I mean,
But I didn't like where you was thinking. I think we need to get it off where we shovel snow and we can put it out on the lawn. I thought you meant right there at the end of it and where the bike rack is.
Well, that may bring the cost down, honestly, if we're putting it on the ground.
Yeah.
Especially if you guys build a platform.
I'm sure we'll
for
put we can pour a pad for it and get power to it. Or if Paul leaves, better hurry.
it. Are you guys?
Carl, do you know how to pull power?
A little bit.
It'll be shocking existence for you.
Okay, thanks.
Wes?
I have nothing either, except thanks to everybody and, you know, we're gonna miss Paul. You ain't gonna miss me. I got 31 working days left and then I'll be
Telling
able
us
to,
that.
I'll be able like most everybody else here and
Except Blair.
except Blair. But he won't be too far behind, I don't think, but we do have a great city. And, you know, when he walked in and you can see what he thinks of it and I hope Carl thinks of the same thing and, I mean, we may butt heads and get a dirty look from each other once in a while, but we're still a team and that's how we're gonna finish up this city to make it 25 years. They'll say, I'm glad them guys done that, so that's all I got.
Okay, I only have one thing. Well, first of all, thank all of you as well. I second everything that's been said so far and appreciate the opportunity of working with all of you. We just have one other thing to be sure to come out front here. We need to get a picture of all of us. before we leave. And we have one more motion.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Thanks, everybody.
it's 4 hours. That's not bad. I may need a cookie for sugar just to keep me awake to get home, Cynthia. But thank you, that was delicious. I don't know if I've ever had one of them sandwiches.
We can do whatever you like.
I'm not saying.
Okay, let's do that. Okay.
That's how we do that. No, I'm not wearing my hat.
All look very nice.
What's that?
Where did that land? I just realized it.
What I heard was, push forward with the grant, see if we can pivot it around a little bit.
This table is scooted up. Are you going to put it down? Yeah, not table in it. Okay.
That's what I heard.
Right here. I'll put an email chain now.
Take a bunch, keep smiling.
Thank you, looks
Good, thank you. Yeah, that's good. A little closer. You look great, Wes.
Our camera's broke.
Liar.
Nope, still working.
You been baptized?
You're lying if you say that.
When Zach gets his phone. I'm not gonna.
Conversation continues.
No, it looks better this way. I
What that
promise.
was.
I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Here's the
Conflict.
Cynthia.
Somebody's gonna review that, right?
If you want me to send it to Dusty, like, if you have a specific.
I think Dustin ought to just,
How much you?